What's up, guys? What's up? Welcome to the live stream. All right, I have a video I wanted to watch. I wanted to check out. So let's get started. It's a pretty long video, right? It's like about almost a 3-hour video. So Red Door, what's up, my sister? What's up? Hope you having a good Sunday. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Okay, I mean it's an impromptu stream. I don't always do a Sunday stream, right? Sunday is to relax, but you know I wanted to watch this. I believe would be an interesting video, so why not check it out? Why not check it out? Why not stream it with you guys, right? Why not? Artie, what's up, my brother? What's up? Yes, so like I said, I have a pretty impromptu live stream. Yeah, it's a video with Nick Fuentes, a very far right-wing extremist, in a way. So he is going to be debating with 6 feminists. So I'm watching it. I figured, why not check it out? Why not watch it with you guys? If you guys want to watch it with me, cool. Right? If you guys have a few hours free on your Sunday, why not watch it with me? If you don't, all good, right? Sunday's for us to relax. But I was going to watch this anyway. So I figured, why not watch it on live? Right? Why not watch it with any of you guys that are free? All right, let's get started. All right, so let's get started with this. All right, let's get started with this.
However, I do not agree with both parties when it comes to immigration. I'm pro-Palestine too, as well. However, whoever was going to be the next president of this country, regardless of how we all feel, we're going to forever fund war. We're going to forever fund all these things. And the thing that really bothers me about Trump is not the fact that he can say whatever he wants. It's the fact that he can get away with it. And that's not something I approve of. That's not something I would want anybody to look up and be like, oh yeah, that's my president right there. I'll be ashamed. Now for Kamala, I do not agree how her upcoming was. It was very shady. But however, I give credit when credit is due. And damn, that lady worked hard to get there.
Okay.
That's how I say it.
So okay. Got it. Now, a lot of you guys are, kind of going off of, I'll be real, like you guys are being upfront, I'll be upfront too. A lot of you guys have some of the same views as Nick when it comes to this stuff, but I want to ask you guys a question. Is there anybody here that genuinely believes that Donald Trump is racist? And if you do, please raise your hand. Okay, so
I'm Asian. All the comments he made during COVID, we all know. I'm sure the chat's going
Black jobs.
Okay, so Nick, is that a better topic? Would you say?
African American.
Let's discuss this. Yeah, let's go free flowing from this.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Trump being racist. If anything, I don't think he's racist enough. That's my opinion. But I have a different definition of racism than you guys. Let's just be honest. Trump is in favor of mass immigration. Trump changed his policy in June and said that he wants to staple green cards to the diplomas of every foreign student that comes to America, whether it's a 2-year, 4-year, graduate degree, doesn't matter. All those green cards are coming from non-white countries. They're coming from Pakistan. They're coming from India. They're coming from China. If you are truly a racist and the thing that, people that are race conscious or white identitarian, what they deeply care about is the racial makeup of the country. The most stark thing that is going on in the history of the United States right now is that the country was 90% white. And within 10 years, it's going to be 50% white. That is a massive change with significant effects. Whether you think it's good, bad, neutral, it's a huge change. And it's happening all over the world. And where does...
I honestly don't think Trump is racist. I definitely think that he cares about winning. He cares about winning. So he says the thing he said. I think he cares about America. He cares about business as well. So now, if he says something that you may deem racist, it is what it is. I mean, his views is not necessary to be portrayed as racist. Like I said, it's to support America, support money, and support his ambition to win.
Trump stand on that issue? He is supporting the demographic transition, supporting a less white America. So, in that sense, I would also say, I mean, look at the people he surrounds himself with. Tim Scott from South Carolina, among others. If you looked at the RNC, the first day, it was like all black men. It was actually notable. Almost everybody that went up and spoke on the stage, which he specifically created the agenda. It's all black men. They gave a tribute at the very end to the Sikh god Waheguru, which I protested as a traditional Catholic. So, I mean, you could give like a ton of reasons, but I think he totally lacks prejudice. I'll give one other anecdote. I went to Mar-a-Lago with Kanye West a couple years ago, and Trump was nothing but nice. Still has not disavowed him to this day. If anything, stood by him, even though he was canceled, and said he's a good guy, but misunderstood, but he has a good heart, which is how I see him. So I think that there's not a racist bone in his body, although sometimes I wish he was even a little bit more race conscious than he is. So that's what I would say.
That sounds great. We'll let everyone
Yeah,
disagree. You can raise your hand. But first, Jazz, if you could, let's see your mic one more time. You still haven't spoke.
Does it work?
Yes, it works now. Thank you.
Okay, so Burnout, why do you think that Nick is wrong?
Just guys, raise your hand, and Burnout, raise your hand
I
first.
would like to ask him a question. Like, what is your definition of racism?
It's a good question. I mean, that's the important definition. I see myself as a racialist. I think that race is real. I think that we have to grapple with it. People are tribal. So I guess the working definition would be, race-based hatred. Does he hate people or have prejudice for people based on their race? Would be my definition.
Hear me out. The next question is, do you think your definition of racism applies universally to everyone, especially the people who are at the the hand of racism, like the oppressed or the oppressors? And do you think racism is an oppressive institution? Or do you just think, oh, racism is hating on people?
Well, the definition's totally subjective. I think it's a very ambiguous.
Poor man, what's going on, my brother? Thank you for joining.
Word. I mean, what does racism mean? Does it mean you believe that race is a determinative factor? Or do you think that, like left-wing people do, I imagine you do, based on what you're saying, that race is, one of these categories that's used to oppress people? It's totally subjective. And that's why we have to meet on the definitions. But no, I don't believe, what exactly is the question? People disagree about what racism means. Absolutely.
Okay, universally, I would say racism is the institutionalized practice of putting a marginalized people down and keeping them down, whether it's thoughts, whether it's speech, whether it's being rejected from a job because of how you look, your skin color. So anything that has to do with your skin color and you being rejected or dejected or objectified or subjectified is the definition of racism to me. And I think that from multiple studies and just living real life, a lot of people will agree with that. So it's not as light as you're trying to make it seem. It's not that at all. And I would consider Donald Trump to sit under the umbrella of being racist, just because of how he moves, his policies, how he deals with people of the opposite race or anybody that is not similar to him.
Like who? Can you give an example?
Anyone. Look how he talks about Kamala. Look how he talks about the African community.
How he talks about Kamala? She's a political opponent. What is he supposed to do? Like, love on her?
African American community. It's not from a place of understanding or relation. It's an outside observation from generalized views that are just stereotypical, really, because have you seen him really be in close contact with anyone who is actually someone who is a clear representation of being an African American person or a person of another race, where he can sit down and they'll be like cool and not have any type of controversy.
He literally just gave examples of that. What is wrong with her?
Yeah. Ben Carson was in his cabinet. Tim Scott was being considered for VP.
Listen to me. I'm sorry.
Well,
let me
let
stop
me
with
add
this
one
shit.
other thing.
Real quick,
you know,
quick, Nick. Sorry,
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
Isaac, you were raising your hand for a while. I want to get to you, Isaac. What do you have to say to that? And tell me why you think Trump is a racist.
Yeah, so I think Nick is really good at verbalizing his points to make it seem like he really knows what he's talking about. But racism, the word is not subjective. It's the inherent superiority complex to another race. There's just this clear cut and dry. And I do believe Trump is a racist because he had a civil case, back in the day because he refused to rent to Black people in his properties. He called for the execution
Mel,
of the
ban her,
Central
bro.
Park
Ban her.
Five.
She's ruining my fucking shit. Ban
He
her.
had the birther conspiracy. These are things that have been around for years, well-documented cases of racism. So I think the reason you're saying he's not racist is because you have a clear misunderstanding of what racism is. But your opinion is not shared by most of the world, especially people who face racism. Like, okay, a lot of conservatives like to talk about like white racism. So wouldn't you agree that white people are discriminated against because they're white? Or is that not happening?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
you believe in racism then, but only for your own people. So
I think that, again, what is the definition? If the definition of racism, as Burnout said, is this systematic oppression of a person based on race, then you would disagree. You would disagree that white people are discriminated against, right? If white people are oppressors.
There's individual racism. That's like a thought. You see somebody outside. And
So what is the definition then? You're making the case that it's very clear cut and there's no ambiguity, but clearly there's disagreement on this panel between you and Burnout even.
Prejudice would be what the word you're looking for, not racism. Prejudice would be the word you're looking for.
Discrimination. But when it comes to like racism is race-based discrimination and prejudice. There's individual racism. That's where somebody sees another person of another race and they, subconsciously do not like them. And there's institutional or systemic racism where there are foundations in place to keep people of color down. I think you're looking at it from a very narrow-minded lens, but I could show individual racism towards you, a white person. However, I can't show any institutional racism towards you because I'm not in that position of power to do that to you. You understand?
Yeah, are we debating whether Trump is a racist, or are we debating whether the definition of racism is universal? Because I think there's broad disagreement.
We need to I feel like we're
debating that Trump is a racist.
That's like I said, I think you're more arguing whether there's an objective definition. Let's just agree on what we're talking about. So your argument is Trump is discriminating on people on the basis of race, as in the case of Central Park 5 and the birther conspiracy. Is that right?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay. So, my pushback would be, having met the man and again, just seeing him with Black people, would somebody that has racial hatred or discriminates or prejudice against Black people appoint Black people in his cabinet, pass the First Step Act, commute the sentences of many Black felons who had a peaceful drug charge, and hang on one more thing, and secured the release of LeVar Ball, Kodak Black. I think there was one other rapper in Norway or Sweden who was released from prison. So I think when you put all that together, I don't think someone who is like a white supremacist would be interested in any of that.
Christine, let's Christine raise her hand. What's your response to that?
Sorry, can I go, please?
Yeah, Christine, the Asian girl.
None of that was helpful to the Black community in any way. None of those people are helpful to the Black community in any type of way or fashion. He did that as a strategy. Of course, he's going to move strategically.
So by your thought, okay, a president helping out Black people does not help the Black community. What does Obama do? What has Obama done? What, Obamacare? has that really made the black community, like, I don't know, succeed thanks to Obamacare? By your ideology, doing things that help black people doesn't really help the black community. Here's the thing. If you don't help yourself, there's nothing someone else can do that would even do much of a dent. This is the thing where, to be honest, I said this, right? I don't believe the government is necessarily helping anybody. Maybe besides the wealthy. Okay, so I don't care if it's Obama. I don't care if it's Clinton. I don't care if it's anybody. They're not drastically helping, I don't know, the poor to a bit of the middle class. So who you think, and that doesn't necessarily make the person racist. Okay? Because in all honesty, Obama did much of nothing. So does that make him racist? No. It's just that, in my honest opinion, one, I don't think the government is all that, you know, they're not jumping to go so far to help anybody out. And two, I think it's not an easy thing to help any community out drastically. Okay, so I think your hand is tied, because to be honest, what would Trump do? What could Trump do that would actually help the black community? What? I don't really. I mean, I would like to know, because I don't know, right?
The people who are those fans or who pay attention to the people you named don't really think for themselves. They're very much sheep. And he's going to do anything for the black vote.
Christine.
We've seen that time and time again. We've seen that time from, not even talking about Trump, from anybody.
Christine, you raised your hand. You had something?
Yes, I just wanted to say, I think there are levels to racism, okay? I know many of people, well, I'm white, but I have black friends, so I'm not racist. Okay. But so him, like, you know, calling the China virus and like things like that. So what is that? Is that like calling people slurs? Is it just like comedy? It's just funny. It's not racist.
Wasn't it just descriptive? I mean, the virus did come from China.
You're not wrong.
Well, seriously, you're not wrong. Well, then, really, it's like he just destroyed your argument. He just destroyed your point of view. He destroyed your worldview. And even that I knew, right? I knew that as an Asian man. I knew that he wasn't necessarily attacking Asian people. At best, he was, or maybe at worst, he was attacking China, not Chinese people. He was attacking China. Now, if you have the idiots, right, the stupid, I don't know, rednecks or whatever, that are attacking Asian people because of, oh, it's a Chinese virus, well, they're stupid. You can't blame idiots on Trump, because people will be idiots regardless.
Okay.
I agree. He's not a KKK member.
Yeah,
he's not like a white supremacist. But yeah, like obviously some things he says, some people are going to conceive as problematic and racist. But yes, he can have black friends, but he can still be racist. But I would just argue
I'm more conservative than him on race. I'm far more conservative than him on race. And I view him authentically as someone who does not have racial prejudice. I mean, you got to consider he's a New Yorker. I mean, he grew up with Jews who are an ethnic minority. He grew up in a very diverse city. He did business with a lot of different kinds of people. And, you know, even with regard to China, he had a good relationship with the country of China. He respected their leaders. I mean, he said that when I was with him at the dinner, he said we had a great relationship, but we respected each other and so on. They had Mitch McConnell's wife, who is Chinese. She was the Secretary of Transportation, I believe. It was in the cabinet. So it was a diverse cabinet. It was a diverse White House. You know, and you can argue, well, he's cynically doing these things to win the non-white vote. You know, well, if you argue that everything he does is in bad faith, you're sort of arguing that you know what's in his heart. All we can go by is the outward expression. What does he do? What does he say? Based on what he says and does not appear to be a racialist. Does not appear to be a racist.
they're like a president has a duty to be president for all Americans. So of course he's going to be diplomatic when it comes to race, but I don't think that's a reflection of how he feels inside. The same way you're saying we can't go off of, because we don't know how he's feeling inside. You don't know how he's feeling inside either. So I do go by actions, and he has many racist actions in the past. But just because he wasn't, he was trying to get to the people of color's votes during his presidency. That's what a president is supposed to do. They're conditioned to reach out to as many people as possible. That doesn't mean he's not racist just because he's doing something that politicians are really good at doing, reaching out to people. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't know. I just the thing is, when it comes to deeds and actions, that's the indicator. That's what we can look at. And, it's like you said, the ones that appear racist, you say, well, that's indicative he's racist. The ones that appear that he's not racist, they say, well, that's just dishonest. It's a lie. So it's kind of like you're picking and choosing the things that are guilty. Well, that's definitive. The things that prove he's not guilty, well, we can't, that's no credibility. We can't trust that. And I would just say, with regard to Trump altogether, I also don't even think it really matters that much. I mean, because if we're saying for the sake of argument, let's say he is just putting on this big display and big show, you say, well, that's his job to be diplomatic. Well, then was he not diplomatic? I mean, was he not? I mean, for example, something like with the birther conspiracy, I don't think there's anything necessarily racist about that. They didn't say that Obama wasn't born here because he was black. They said he wasn't born here because he didn't live in America for his childhood. And I think there are a lot of legitimate questions about where this guy even came from. He lived in Indonesia. His father was from Kenya. I mean, there's questions about Ted Cruz. He raised the same issue about Ted Cruz because he was born in Canada and wasn't born on the land. Ted Cruz, I mean, he's Cuban, but by all appearances, he's white. Does that make Trump a racist against Cubans? I think it's a legitimate question. With regard to the Central Park Five, they're guilty. Let's just be honest. They got off, but they were guilty.
That's misinformation.
That is misinformation.
Disinformation, actually, yes.
This is misinformation.
You look into the case. It's just true.
About the one getting released because all of it was lies.
Yeah, they got let off, but they were all guilty.
I mean, you can't really think that the guy who recently murdered that Russian Ukrainian girl, he was let out of prison 16 times, 15 to 16 times. He was let out of prison multiple times. He didn't serve a long sentence. He didn't. So there are plenty of criminals that are left out or let out. So really, or plenty of plenty of people thought O.J. Simpson did it. He didn't. He didn't serve any prison sentence. So doesn't necessarily. I mean, our justice system is not great, right?
Okay, what evidence do you have to back up that claim?
Yeah,
I don't want to do a debate about the Central Park Five.
Donald Trump, so you trust the judicial system?
If you look
I feel
into
like
it,
you're regurgitating things that you haven't really looked into.
if you look into it, you'll find they were guilty.
Okay, can you please just elaborate?
Okay,
I honestly want to hear.
No, please
you
elaborate.
provide
I would like to
factual
know.
Yeah.
evidence to
Let's
go with
go
this?
for it.
Because
I'm really not interested in debating the Central Park Five. If you want to say that's racism, I'll concede that, and we could say that's racist.
You just lied, and it's okay, but you got to be accountable.
Okay, let's move on to the
You gotta
next
be
subject. I think
Like,
that
you really
we
wanna talk
covered.
about it?
Hold on, you can hear correct? I think that we covered racism. Let's move back.
Covered racism. I mean, I don't really know that, but fine. I mean, he also said that he conceded to. To be honest, I would say this. One case of if it's I honestly don't know that the Central Park 5 thing like that well or barely at all. So one thing, it doesn't necessarily make him a racist. I mean, he could have just hated these people. I don't know. Whatever, right? I mean, I don't know that much, so it is what it is. But you gotta, in my honest opinion, you gotta see a person throughout time. If you can only pick 2 instances, it's not really that great of an indicator, in my opinion. So it is what it is.
Back onto feminism, okay? I think we covered if Trump is racist or not. Let's start with Nick. I'll give you 1 minute. If you can answer, should women vote?
No, absolutely not. Women should not vote. We should repeal the 19th Amendment. We should take it away. They vote for the wrong candidate every single time. Every single time the women vote Democrat, they vote for the wrong person. They vote for more spending.
Yeah, the case was so long ago, DA, and he didn't physically, but he did set it up, and that's a fact. You can look it up. Now, it is what it is, right? I mean, like, again, let's say this, like, you said he did set it up. I mean, cool. To be honest, I don't think one act of, let's say doing something bad, okay? I don't view it as, oh, this person is that their whole life, in my opinion. Now, it has to be a consistent thing, right? It has to be a consistent thing, in my opinion. Now, it could make him that just, bad judgment on his part, but I wouldn't call it, a complete condemnation on his character, in my opinion.
Above all else, I think that women, we have to look at voting as a position of governance. If you're casting a vote, you're determining who should be in the government. And I don't think that women should be in the business of government at all. I think that government and leadership.
I agree. I honestly agree. I mean, I think things have gotten worse. Yo, why? What's up, my brother? What's up? I think ever since women have gotten very political, I think things have gone down. I think things have gotten worse. So I don't, this is the thing where I think even some men shouldn't be a part of it. To be honest, I think we should have more, even more top quality leaders. To be honest, I think we shouldn't have these career politicians because they get senile, they get crazy. So I don't know. I think we should make our government officials more selective in a way where these people have to be the cream of the crop.
Is a domain of men. And I think, honestly, very few people should vote altogether. I think that it's not just exclusive to women. I think that people that have only been in the country for a generation or two shouldn't vote. I think people that are indigent shouldn't vote. I think that young people shouldn't vote. I think probably people that don't own anything shouldn't vote. And I think, we should get back to a system where a vote is cast really as a representation. I think the vote should be cast by the head of a household.
I kind of agree with this. Because I think we do have a lot of foolish people voting. And I think a man that's the head of a household with the advice or opinions of his wife, his vote should be the determining factor. His vote should be more be the most important.
I think that if a woman gets married, her political expression is represented in the vote of her husband, in the vote of the head of the household. I don't think that it's women's position to be in leadership over men, over society. And I think that it's completely outside their domain. So I don't think they should vote at all. And I think the evidence is clear. I mean, ever since they got the right to vote, it's been all downhill.
Burnout, you want to respond?
Do you want me to respond? No, I'm kidding. I will, actually. I just want to ask a question to lead you to a point. Being in the state of where we are in this country.
That is her, the OF/lawyer. Yep.
Knowing that nothing but men have president this country, you think that women shouldn't have a chance to run it? You think you're doing an amazing job?
I think it's stupid. I mean, having men have been presidents, all the men that have been the president. Now, not every president was amazing. But again, men's leadership had led America to its pinnacle, to become one of the greatest countries on the face of this earth. Okay? Maybe even throughout history. So what are you saying? Men have led America to become one of the greatest country on the face of this earth. Now, whether it's gone down now, well, it is what it is, but it doesn't change that having men leading America, it has led America to become one of the most, I don't know, top countries in this world.
Yep. 100%.
Are you here for the progressiveness of the country, or are you here to stick to the cookie cutter, you know,
Cookie
average
cutter?
white male leading the world type of vibe?
Totally average white male leading the world. I think we should have exceptional white males leading the world. I think the world was a great place when we had more of that. The more we get away from that, the worse things seem to get. I think white men should be back in charge, but that's another debate. I think women should definitely not be in charge.
I feel
What?
like, I'm not trying to generalize, but I feel like that demographic causes more harm to the country than they ever did good.
Let me say this. Is it one of the two countries that are highly desired to be immigrated to? The UK and America, led by white people. I mean, you could hate white people, you could love white people, it don't matter. But and you could have a whole lot of negatives, right, against white people. But you cannot say two countries, and there are other countries too, what, Norway, Finland, whatever, but at least let's say these two countries, the UK and America, two countries led by the white Anglo-Saxon, right, nation, white people, are the most desired countries to immigrate to. Two countries that have honestly led the advancements of modern day society. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't think that, okay, some bad histories, some bad white people, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't negate that still the UK and America is two of the most desired countries to immigrate to. All right? No one is desiring to immigrate to Africa. No one is desiring to immigrate to the Middle East. No one is desiring to immigrate to, let's even South America, to China, to any of these countries. No one is not the masses. But guess what? They're desiring to immigrate to the UK, to America.
And that's
I
on
disagree.
a daily basis. That's like from like something as minuscule as a school shooting.
Yeah, but we invented
Also,
everything.
in charge.
yeah.
Like, come on.
You said women vote for the
everyone.
wrong candidate. So why are you the arbiter of what's considered a wrong candidate?
Also,
You do
when-
know that the same wrong candidates that you're talking about, men vote for them as well.
Yeah, I know.
And all these things, I know you said like some men shouldn't vote too, but if you believe in a democratic system where every person vote should count, I assume so.
I don't.
Why not?
Because I mean, let's take, for example, in this society right now, person turns 18 years old. They don't own anything. They've never had a real job. They just graduate high school. This is a person that's voting for the president of the United States. What do they know about anything? What do they know about trade, the economy, foreign affairs? What do they know about one thing in the whole world? A person that owns a building knows more about the world than literally any 18-year-old alive today. Somebody that knows where...
I do agree that, I mean, I'm not really, this is a thing where most people are not even avid voters. I do think that people who have a stake in America, stake in America's prosperity, stake in America, whatever, ownership, whatever, should have more of a say, or should be the say in how America turns out. I do agree. People who are civil servants, people who contribute to America, right? People who contribute to the productivity of America should have the say. I agree. Wait, let me look at it.
Water and electricity come from somebody that pays bills, somebody that owns a company.
I've heard that, right? I heard that, right? Poor man said, I hate to be the guy, but the continent of Africa only has like 3 cities that have modern conventions and civilized now. That's crazy. Again, I don't know how many cities, but again, Africa, I believe, is bigger than the US, and they have very few cities that has the advancements of America. Now, whatever you believe, whatever reasoning it is, that is the true. But again, regardless, no one is desiring to, immigrate to Africa or any of these other countries that I've said, not even black people, right? In today's day and age, right? Every black person that hates America, that calls America racist, every single black person that hates America, that calls America racist, they have the freedom to go to Africa. I believe there are some programs in Africa that's actually accepting black Americans, very easily, right? Easy visa. So
company. These are people that know how the country actually works. The problem is people look at a vote as a privilege, and they've divorced it from why we have the privilege. And we have the privilege because the privilege is conferred upon us by citizenship. Citizenship, self-government, means you take responsibility for the country. It's not just about you're a total bum or you're lazy or you know nothing and then you get to cast a vote. If you're not really upholding the responsibilities of a free man and a citizen, if you're not enterprising, if you're not a good Republican, by Republican, I don't mean a member of the GOP, I mean a member of the Republic, which is, what this country is, I don't think you should be able to vote. And I think there's a lot of people that, whether they contribute nothing or they know nothing, some of them aren't even literate, some of them know nothing about what's going on. The idea their vote cancels out a business owner, their vote cancels out a lawyer, it's totally insane.
I have one point before I move it on to my other people, but I understand what you're saying. There are a lot of misinformed people when they go to cast their ballot, but I don't think that we should put in a system in place where they don't get to make their voices heard, because the president rules the country. That means every single thing they do will affect every single person in this country. So they should have a right to dictate how their lives are going to be governed, whether they're informed or not. Taking away, disenfranchising people because you think they're misinformed, it sets a dangerous precedent.
Okay, Christine and then Cheyenne. Christine and Cheyenne, why should women vote?
I just ask questions. So we're saying
no, stop with the question. Answer this question first. Why should women vote?
Okay, so if women should they also not work, or is it two separate things? Because
Let's stay on subject. Why should women vote?
I think everyone has the right to vote. I'm sorry.
I'm not lazy. I just like doing nothing more. I agree. Sometimes I definitely understand that.
Go ahead.
Okay, Cheyenne, why should women vote?
Okay.
Cheyenne.
Okay, I can go now, please. No interruptions? Okay. I think women should vote is because, first of all, we're a human being before we're anything. And I just think that's a little bit disrespectful to say, well, she can't vote. Women should vote not because they're a human being and they have rights just like anybody else do, but why wouldn't you give rights to the person who birthed you? Doesn't make any sense to me. The reason why we're all here today is because of a woman. And you're telling her she can't vote?
This is a thing where he did say let's say this. He did say within a family, right? The husband, the man you chose to marry. Now, let's say this. A single mother, should she be voting? She already has bad decisions of picking men. She already has a history of bad judgment in men. So you want her to pick the man that is going to lead our country? I don't think so. I don't really think so. Now, a woman that stands behind her husband, the one that she chose to marry, the one that she chose to give kids to, maybe she has picked a good man already. So now that man, will cast that ballot, right? Cast that vote for the correct man.
What's wrong with you?
It's not really an argument. I mean, well, let's start with one. Let's start with one really good argument. the whole basis of a country, really the basis of the country, is that it's able to defend its borders. That's kind of what a country is. A country is a group of people that say this land is our land, and we get to determine what happens within these borders. Now, unfortunately, there is no entity higher than the level of government that enforces these rules. When Russia invades Ukraine,
Yeah, just put it in the recommendations. You can put it in the recommendations. I hate his face. I mean, to be honest, I've never really cared for Nick Fuentes. I don't really follow him. I think he's too far of an extremist. So I don't really listen to him and follow him. But again, I've said this before. You don't need to agree with anybody, particularly 100%. But in my thing, if someone makes sense, I'll probably agree. If it makes sense, I'll agree.
there's nobody that says you're not allowed.
You know what? Why? Exactly. I do agree. Like the driver license, you should have to take a test before you vote. You should show how knowledgeable you are. And this is why, business owners, people who have knowledge in the economy, what's going around them, it's kind of a test in a way.
To do that. If Ukraine can't defend its borders, they lose their land. Those territories are no longer a part of it. So what makes a country is the willingness and the ability to defend the borders and the territorial integrity. If America is attacked from outside or inside, who goes to fight? Who goes to fight the war to secure the realm and defend our way of life and our right to govern ourselves? It's the men. It's the men that go on the front lines. It's the men that take up arms. It's the men that are expected to do these things. And by the way, the same is true in a community. If somebody breaks into your home at 2 a.m. with a gun and a baseball bat or whatever, and they say, hey, bitch, we're going to kill you. We're going to take all your stuff. Who do you call? Cops. What do you want the cops to be? You want some 5'4" little girl to jump through the window and save you? Or you want a big, tall guy to come in and fix and save the day? Same thing goes for firefighters. Same thing goes for public works. So for that reason alone,
if that's the logic you're using, wouldn't you say men should just be strong and let women make mental decisions? If that's your strength, if you're equating men to physical brute strength,
No, because then women, in all honesty, women would think with their emotions. They won't think with their logic. Here's the thing where men will, not all men, but I believe majority of men will try to not get to that point, right? Will not try to get to the physical because men know what it's like once you reach the physical, right? Once you reach a state of violence. So men will try their best not to get to there. Men knows it. Women, they don't know it. They're not experiencing it firsthand. So they don't mind pushing men to the front line. Now, I don't know how true this is because I didn't look about it. I didn't look into it. But I've heard that there are studies that have shown that queens or women leaders have started more wars statistically on average than men have. So now I haven't looked into this, so I don't know how true it is. I've just heard it. So that is just a thought process I put around. But I will use the thing where I believe in general women will probably be emotional, right? They will use emotional thinking instead of a logical thinking. So I would trust men leadership more than I would trust women.
Women be considered the brain of it all?
Why would we consider them that? There are no female geniuses.
But you're just talking about men being irrational, being violent.
That's
men
why-
have to protect women from other fellow men.
Katherine Johnson, who worked at NASA, that's not a female genius?
That's fake. I'm talking about real geniuses. Real geniuses like Isaac Newton, like Galileo. I'm talking about real geniuses, not like hidden figures.
Being geniuses because they are white males. When I guarantee you, all of their work could possibly be just copied off of someone else who found it first.
Exactly.
Wait,
They're all copying it from black women.
You identify with them. When you can find someone in a different country that knows way more than any of them. I'm not going to.
Like what country?
You're not considering people outside of yourself could be worth more than or more knowledgeable than you because you have this narrow-minded view on who you deem is the top of the totem pole, but I don't blame you for that. That's probably how your life was set up. That's probably why you don't have any other view than that, and why you can't consider that other people feel differently.
I
also
do
about
consider
it-
that other people feel differently.
It's giving
Like-
shelter. It's giving. Just because I've been here, this is the way it is, and I'm seeing different. I don't like it, so I'm gonna put a stop to it.
It's giving red pilled. It's giving based. It's
You talk about
look,
Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton, but the thing is, they were.
I didn't say
exposed.
Albert Einstein.
Okay, but the thing is that the geniuses you're bringing up, the reason why you know about them is because they were in a position where they were able to make their voices heard. A lot of people of color aren't able to do that. So a lot of these geniuses that you're talking about, there probably was a person of color behind the entire operation, but you wouldn't know that because a lot of people of color aren't in positions to take credit for a lot of things.
Who is the person of
I'm
color
pretty sure
behind
even
Isaac
you can
Newton?
acknowledge
We can see
that
how that
somebody has
dynamic
their name
plays
tied
out
to
to this
something.
day.
I think that's stupid, right? You're shooting out hypothetical questions or hypothetical ideology. Prove it then. I mean, like, I hate this thing where what was it? Shit. Oh, there was this crazy ass woman that said, "Oh, Shakespeare, he's not real, or his that wasn't his work. He copied a black woman." What? Seriously? I was like, this is why I'm tired, right? This is why I'm fatigued by this shit. It's like they want to now rewrite history. Now, you know, am I saying that, you know, throughout history there's like you would ignore people of color? Probably. But why is it, let me say this. Why is there no African history book that shows, you know, these, because this is the thing. Are you only reading American history or the UK history or Italy or all these like white nations history? Because why is there no, let's say, Africa, right? That says, you know, these black geniuses, or because I don't think they're that, you know, you can't make that argument, right? You can't make that argument. Oh, there's these behind every white person, behind every white genius, there's a black person that gave them that information. It's like, I just think that's ridiculous, in my opinion.
I don't mean that they're the sole creators of that. Would you not agree?
No, I totally. The idea that, you know, there's sort of like this, like black people of the gaps argument, where it's like, if we can find no female geniuses throughout recorded history, if we can find no people of color geniuses throughout recorded history, there's this assumption, well, the white people, they just stole it from some black person somewhere, and we could just safely assume that. No, I actually disagree with that. I think that we know about Isaac Newton because he revolutionized math and science. We know about Galileo because he revolutionized our understanding of space and the cosmos and the world. We know about them because they did these extraordinary things. And when you look at female inventors, if you Google, because I prepared for this debate, if you Google female inventors and you look at any website, top 10 female inventors, in the top 10 is like ice cream maker, miracle mop, coffee filter. You look at the things that men invented, it's like cars, human flight, nuclear bomb, rocket ships. You know, it's like real things. And so to get back to the, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, wait, you don't eat ice cream?
Why were never given the opportunity to be in that
Hold
field?
I want to talk.
Wait,
but
one
I don't
second,
know
one
my
second.
name.
Hold
Let
on.
her talk.
Okay, we'll go in order because there's getting more interruptions. Start with Jazz, and then we'll go to Burnout, and then back to Isaac. Go ahead, Jazz.
Okay. From your opening statement, first you said that you just don't like that women vote because they don't vote for the candidate you want. But the other thing you said was that women lack leadership qualities. So I'm wondering what these qualities are that all women don't have, and that like is a reason to categorically exclude.
10th grade, I told my teacher that not my history, and the next year, 11th grade, I was told I wouldn't be able to play basketball because I failed my history class because of it. Well, you know, I do understand that. I mean, you know, I mean, let's say when I was doing when I was in history class, it wasn't like necessarily teaching my history, okay, but you know, you're teaching the history of, you know, the nation you're living in. It is what it is.
Because even if we go based off of we should have informed.
Why? How you doing, my brother? How are you doing? Are you on Are you on break now? Are you on your what is it? I don't know if I call it a vacation or whatever. Is it your off season? How's everything going, my brother? You know I missed you. I mean, yeah. I mean, this is a thing where, like Big Bar said, you have to play their game but know the truth. I will say this: always keep learning. Never. This is why I say never be narrow-minded. Right? Do not be narrow-minded. Be open-minded. For me, I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing to learn different things. I'm always open-minded. I try not to be so concrete with every single idea I have.
Voters, we should have voters that are paying into taxes or whatever you were saying. There's a lot of women who would meet that threshold and a lot of men that wouldn't. So what is your argument for categorically excluding one group based on their gender when many of them would meet the requirements that you had proposed?
Risk-taking, decisiveness, assertiveness, disagreeableness.
But all women don't have this. All women don't have this, and all men do. Do you not know how averages work? Like when something when the one group is better at one thing on average, that does not mean, especially when it's a small effect size. For instance, like agreeableness, that's like a 0.3. So while you can make the statement that on average women are more agreeable than men, it's by such a small amount that when it comes to individuals, like let's say me and you, it would literally be like a coin toss on me being more agreeable than you. That's how that works. That's just statistics. So I think that's a really dim-witted way to view the world. That just because you're looking at group averages and then making individual judgments based on group averages.
But they're categorically different. Men and women are two different categories. They have different hormones. They're wired differently. They're wired for different roles.
There's no overlap? Do you think there's no overlap? Do you think it's just 100% men are this way and 100% women are this way and there's no overlap?
It's almost, it's nearly 100%. I do believe
not.
that, yes.
That's just scientifically not accurate.
Well, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think that. You look at right now, for instance, we arguably live in the most liberal, progressive, feminist society of all time. Europe and Western Europe and North America, probably the most liberal, feminist, progressive since the beginning of recorded history. We don't have any female billionaires, very, very few. You look at the top 10 female billionaires, they all got their money from inheritance.
Intel, what's up?
Okay, if you want a society that is a meritocracy, though, let's say 50, I think it's 15% of Nobel Prize winners are female. Would you rather have a society where it's zero? Wouldn't my society?
Yeah, but they're giving them to Malala.
The best of both genders. Even if less women do X thing than men, wouldn't we want the best of the best? And for those women that can meet that standard, you don't want them to be included just because they're women. It doesn't seem like how you would operate in a real meritocracy where we're trying to get the best of the best for any field that we're going for.
Congrats, my brother. Congrats, you got your GED.
I mean, that's really a separate argument. The argument I'm making is that when you look at society,
why is he doing that? Why is Aiden Ross doing that? That's not cool. If
your argument were true, that on average, men and women are equally as likely to be agreeable or not agreeable, risk takers or not risk takers, etc., then you would probably see a more substantial proportion of the super competitive people would be women. But that's not true. The most super competitive
profession, lawyers, half of are women. I think half the medical professions are women. Women-owned businesses are less likely to go bankrupt. So there are certain fields where women are either surpassing or operating equal to men. And again, if you want a meritocracy, you want people who can survive in this economy and have a booming business, whether that's a man or a woman. Why would you categorically exclude an entire group of people based on a very, very small difference in group averages?
Well, it's not group averages. We're talking about a difference in wired temperament. Two, it's not about excluding them from all of society. I think that women should be able to work. The question is, should they be able to rule? Should they be able to govern? And I think ruling and governing is a very particular kind of science that women are just not suited for categorically. The same way that women are not suited for I think everyone would agree, unless you're ridiculous, women are not suited to to be soldiers. Women are not suited to be police officers. I think for all the same reasons, women are not suited to govern and rule, because those do require very particular combinations of traits that, although I don't think they've never been expressed in women, I think it is completely rare. And when we're talking about a country of 350 million people, we're talking about women voting, more women vote than men. So, arguably, maybe you could get a once-in-a-generation female leader. I'll reserve the possibility, that can happen. But we're talking about women as a rule in a system participating in governance, and I think that's totally wrong. Just like, if you watch Game of Thrones, there's like that big chick is the knight. Yeah, there might be like a giant woman who could be a cop, but I don't know that we would say, oh, the cop.
Real Rain, what's up? What's up?
Should be half women and half men. Just like I think the voters shouldn't be half women and half men.
This is why it's important to look at those categories and see how big that effect size is and the difference. So with things like physical strength, men are overwhelmingly physically stronger than women. When it comes to things like agreeableness, that difference is much smaller, and there's a ton of overlap between men and women. So for your brain to be so narrow-minded to say, oh, I'm going to look at every categorical difference. If men are stronger than women on average and men are less agreeable than women on average, I'm just going to pretend that this is 100% and there's no nuance and there's no overlap and there's no difference between the amount that a man is stronger than a woman versus how agreeable one is or how smart one is or how educated one is, especially when women actually are surpassing men in a lot of these fields, especially education. That's just not a reasonable way to look at life.
Which, let's say this, okay? I don't disagree. College education, yes, women are surpassing men in college degrees. But you look how the world is, right? You look how even America is. Are we doing better? We're not. I mean, for the last decade or two, women have surpassed men. Yet, you think about this. Women have surpassed men in education, correct. But how's that helped the world? How's that help America? To be honest, it really hasn't bared any kind of substantial fruit that women surpassing men in degrees. Is it making women, I don't know, push America to bigger heights? Not really. I mean, women are predominantly in education. Well, they're not teaching kids better. They're not producing smarter kids. Women are predominantly in the medical field. Okay, well, we're not making like leaps and bounds in medical advancements. We are not, our medical system isn't that great. Women are in high positions, right? Women are in high positions in medical fields. Yet our medical field is really, not great, right? There's so many problems with our medical field, and women, I believe, they control it quite predominantly, or they have a great influence in it. So paper skills, I agree. Because like women are doing so much better than men, but what are the results of it? Women buying more houses, great. Women being more independent, great. How is that helping America advance and be better and achieve greatness? Not really. In my honest opinion, since feminism, right? Since women having all the power in the world, all the rights in the world, America have essentially gone down. I mean, all the factors that shows America at, happiness levels, wealth level, education levels, whatever, it has gone down. So what is the result of women, being so great? Oh, real rain. Women have destroyed every single hobby. In my honest opinion, women have destroyed almost every single hobby that men have had. Comic book industry sucks, right? It's so woke. I swear, more debt, exactly. But women have destroyed many of men's hobbies. Gaming, it's unbearable. Comic books, movies, all unbearable.
Or the data.
Okay, we're circling, so I want to hear from Heaven and then Christine, because you haven't been speaking much. Heaven, do you have anything?
Oh, excuse me.
Speak louder.
Your
A little bit louder.
your mic isn't working. Let's hear from Christine while you fix your mic, Heaven.
Okay.
I don't have much to add. I'm sorry. I think we
Can you
dragged
guys
it
hear
out.
me?
I want to ask you specifically because you didn't get to
Me?
give an argument earlier.
Yeah,
Why should women
I had
vote?
questions, but you said that they
No,
were
but
off
we're
topic.
going to stay on subject. So the subject is why
I
women
know.
should vote. What's your argument for why women should vote?
She already said it.
I think everyone has the right to vote. I'm sorry. Like, yeah,
And
that's it. I don't have to justify it other than that. Like,
Okay, Cheyenne, do you have anything?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I guess I'll go. Yeah, so I feel like women should be able to vote because I feel like anybody in this country who is a citizen, who is a part of the way that America operates and flows, should have a say-so on how policies affect them. I feel like it's not fair to give the power to one specific gender based off of things that you've pretty much just pulled out of the air because you don't have facts for any of the things that you claim tonight. I just think that isn't fair. I don't think that's logical, and I think even the way you're debating tonight is showing that men should not rule or control anything just because you don't even have the facts to back up stuff you're saying.
What? I think Nick Fuentes his arguments were pretty sound. His examples were pretty sound. I mean, besides for wanting to debate that you know, if Trump is a racist with the, you know, the, what is it, City Park 5 or whatever. Besides that, he made, you know, interesting rebuttals.
Okay.
That's
I mean,
Like that too.
can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, I think you made a good point. You said everyone who is a citizen should vote. And I agree. But, you know, it's really a bigger question about like why do we vote? I feel like people take it for granted that, well, everyone's here. Everyone has a right to vote. Well, why? You know, when the country was founded, there was the spirit of citizenship. There's
Exactly. Women in general use feels over reals. Yes.
a spirit of self-governing. There's an enterprising spirit. And it doesn't just mean, you know, you're kind of just like a regular Joe. You really worry about yourself. You don't really know anything. And then you get a right to determine who runs the country. When the country was founded, there was only one body in the whole federal government that the whole country directly voted on. Does anyone know what that is? Okay, case in point, it was the House of Representatives. The Senate, senators were appointed by the state legislatures. The president was chosen by the Electoral College, which was chosen by the state legislatures. Supreme Court was nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate. It was only one federal body that they said was for the people. And even then, citizenship was restricted, and not even on the basis of race. It was restricted really on the basis of class. And there was the idea that, you know, we have self-governance, but self-governing isn't just about casting a vote. It's also about being responsible for society. And when I look at the people that are responsible for society, I think about property owners, business owners. I think about people that...
Yeah, he said this. I think Nick has made good points, logical points.
Are civically engaged. They're engaged in their community. They're engaged in, and you know, sometimes women fall in those categories. And, you know, maybe that would be okay. I guess it depends. But maybe the fundamental assertion that should be questioned is that everyone has this right to vote. They take for granted, oh, I'm born, I get a right to vote. I actually don't think that leads to good outcomes. And that's why our elections are now these ridiculous turnout games where it's just pumping TV and radio with low IQ attack ads, literally busing people to the polls. It's like a month they harvest ballots, getting people to just show up and sign their name on it. This is not conducive to good governance. That's not what citizenship looks like. And so I think once you understand that, then you start to ask yourself, well, what would be the categories of people that should vote? And I think when you consider the temperament of men and women, I think that one of the ways you draw the line is you say men should vote. I think another category where you draw the line is people that own things, people that own property or own a business. I'm sorry, I don't think renters and wage earners, I don't think they really have enough stake in the society to be able to cast a vote. I think maybe you throw in a category like whether a person's a parent. I'm not a parent, but maybe that's another category. If you have kids, at least you have a stake in the future. But we really need to get back to thinking about voting as part of citizenship, part of being self-governing, not just this thing where everybody gets it like they get, anything else, like it's a big free-for-all.
Say one thing?
Yeah, Isaac,
I
go
really
ahead,
think
and then we're going to go last comments and then the next subject. Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I just think that's a really terrible argument because you're bringing up temp.
How's that a terrible argument? I think that's true. We have a society that, okay, let's say this. How women care about, let's say, abortion. That's what, or you know what, before that, what I heard so many women said they voted for Kamala just because she's a woman. They don't say a single, they didn't say a single, what is it, talking point or, like any ideology that they voted for. That's it. Oh, they say Kamala is a woman. That's why I voted for her. Or they said Kamala's a woman of color. That's why I voted for her. Hell, that's what a lot of people said that about Barack Obama, right? Oh, because he's a man of color. Because he's black. That's why I voted for him. I don't know anything like anything he stands for. Right? I don't know anything he stands for. I don't know any of the policies or, thoughts he has. But, because he's black, that's why I voted for him. Yeah, that's stupid. That's stupid. You shouldn't vote for someone because if they're black or white, if they're a woman or a man. You should vote for them because their ideology. The sisterhood is the ideology. The sisterhood is the ideology. I agree. It is. But yes. So for what Nick is saying, there are I think there are certain people that care more about the country as a whole, the prosperity of the country, than let's say a typical black person that voted for Obama just because he's black. Yeah. So he made a logical argument.
But 90% of all the wars in the world have been done by men because men hold the power. A lot of the society.
I think that's stupid. Okay. 90% of the war has been, done by men. Okay. Well, most of men, almost 90% of, the leaders have been men. You can't say that, because there's so many, I think, again, I don't know the study. I just heard that because there's such a small amount of women leader, but yet all these women that have led, have almost all of them have contributed or led a war, shows you the disparity. What if more women have done it? Maybe more women would have pushed the war button. Now, let's say this. I think it's kind of stupid in the sense that, do people not understand the importance of a war? Do you not understand the importance of a war? This is why I hate modern day leftists. I hate modern day leftists because they ignore the human experience. They ignore the human experience. I'm sorry. As much as you hate America's past, if America didn't do what it did, and the people that came here conquered the lands, as terrible as you may think it is, as terrible as it may sound, if America didn't do that, right? If America didn't come here, if the settlers, right? The settlers didn't come here and conquered the land, do you think we will be living here? Do you think we will have the world that we have with? Most likely not. Most likely not. Hell, let's say China, right? China was in a state where they had so many different little nations, right? So many different little nations. And it was, chaotic. It was like, that was China's very chaotic period. So we had one leader, right? Conquered all of China, unified China. And during those times, during those hundreds of years, made China one of the most prosperous, like most of, the best times in China's history. It's like there are points to wars, not all points, but like, again, it's human experience. It's part of the human experience.
Issues could be attributed to men. So when you're saying things about temperament, Men have bad temperament too. Men and women are very similar when it comes to the way their brains work. So to take away the rights of one side of the aisle while leaving it for the other, that shows a lack of temperament on your behalf as well, which is just proving our argument. And also, if you cut off the voting rights for 50% of the population, don't you think that would have a negative effect on society? I don't think you say that's the best for society, but how is disenfranchising half of the entire population good for society? Tell me.
I think
And
it would
why should
be.
oh,
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna say, and also, why should 50% of society have a say so for the whole, like the majority? That's crazy. Like a man shouldn't. That's crazy that you think that a man should have a say so on how things affect women's bodies, how people live, how people express.
Well, to be honest, people are stupid. People are stupid. If this is the thing where this is again why I hate modern day, people, right? Modern day people, modern day leftists, because you don't realize people are stupid. People are dangerous. People are emotional. People are, if you leave people, right? If you leave people to their own devices, they will destroy themselves. Period. We created laws to control people, right? We created laws to control people. If you let people to their own devices, they will destroy themselves. I'm sorry. If you take away work, right? If you take away people don't have to work, they will be destructive. If people don't work, they will be destructive. So leaving people to their own devices, people that govern themselves, people that they don't obey no rules, they don't care about anything else, will usually lead to their self-destruction and most likely destruction of others.
Themselves. No, that's not. You can.
Can I make
Yeah,
a last statement on that?
Go ahead.
In order to create a society, you need people. In order to create a person, you need both men and women. How can you speak on something like that and think that the other input is not worthy or is not valuable? You can't even make a baby without a woman. You can't even make a city to govern without a woman, and you're trying to take away the whole voice of a.
But to be honest, there's been plenty of civilizations throughout history without women having a voice in the government. Throughout humankind, right? Mankind's recorded history, women didn't have a voice, right? Women didn't have a voice. And majority of women didn't have a voice in the governments, right? In the governance of the society. And it still happened, right? Society still moved on. Society still popped up.
Marginalized, not even marginalized, probably the most important factor in a society, because who's raising these children? Who's carrying these children? Who's building a society? Who's under you that you think you have all the authority and right to govern all of these people, but they're the people who's putting in the work for you to be able to sit up there and speak so confidently in what you're saying.
Perfect. I'm going to go on to the next subject here. Let's do
the
last one from Jazz, and let's go on to the next subject, okay?
Yeah, I just feel like it doesn't make if he's saying, okay, the threshold should be property owners, pays taxes, civically engaged, educated, and has kids, but then all of a sudden all women are excluded for this, although so many women meet this threshold, just because you're making a categorical exclusion because of a group average, a very small one on temperament. It doesn't even align with anything else you're saying. If you have these requirements to get in, it should be, if you meet those requirements to vote, you should do it despite your gender or race or anything. It just seems like you just want to categorically exclude women just because they're women, based on a false perception of how all women are, because again, you're looking at a very small difference in group averages.
Great. Let's go on to the next subject. It's we're starting.
Yeah, why didn't you let me rebuttal it?
Three people just went.
Go ahead, Nick.
I'll be quick about it. I'll just say, I think that, and here's another point I'll just throw out there. Power and decision-making is distributed in the society in different ways. And I think Burnout actually made a good point. Women do raise all of the people, or ideally they should. I think that the mothers should raise their babies. I think every baby should be raised by their mother. That's a massive amount of power and influence. And women are a huge influence on their husbands. How a man goes out and lives his life is totally influenced by a woman. And I think the idea that voting is the end all be all of the expression of political power is just wrong. And I think that in the same way that men aren't.
I do agree. This is the thing where women don't recognize their power. Women do not recognize their power. Women's power is over men. That's the thing where women are so, because because it's the modern day mentality. Women are so insane. The strong, independent woman, this is a problem. Women don't realize their actual power, their true power is over men. Women's power is over men. Men's power is over the world. That's how it is, in my honest opinion. That is the reality. Men's power is over the world. Yet, right? Women's power is over men. Women don't understand. Women have influenced men of the past. Women have influenced men of history, in my honest opinion. Most of these men that you see that are, important throughout history, they have wives. They have women that, have been an influence on them. That is women's power, to influence men, not to try to shape the world, not to try to influence the world. No, you shouldn't be doing that.
Trying to push babies out of their butts. I think women shouldn't be fighting in the wars. In the same way that men aren't breastfeeding the kids, I think women shouldn't be in politics. I think that politics is an extension of war. I think that governance is leadership. And I think that temperamentally, not group averages, categorically, women are just not suited for that sort of thing.
Sounds good. Let's move on to the next.
I mean, to be honest, I would say this, right? Yeah. I'm not 100% agree that I do think that, let's say, women, you shouldn't base if someone could vote on their gender, right? Like you said, if you are a business owner, if you are, someone of high positions, or, someone that are, really smart about society, you're not thinking with emotion. This is the thing where the women, let's say this, women that cared about abortion, they shouldn't have voted. Right? That shouldn't be the basis of whether you vote or not, or who you vote for because of abortion. That's fucking stupid. Okay? Women should have voted, right? The women that could vote is that they didn't care about the prosperity of America. Right? Do they care about the prosperity of America? Do they care about America, let's say, being the best it can be? Right? That's what they should have voted on. Right? Women that knew what about pushing America to be great? That what should have been the basis of their vote. Not, oh my God, does this candidate support me killing babies? What? Or does that candidate support men becoming women? What? That's stupid. This is why I say, in general, women shouldn't vote. But I say the women that actually care about America, right? That cared about the nation prospering, the nation succeeding. Yes, business women, women that are CEOs, women that work in the government, women that know their shit, women that are not thinking with their emotions but thinking with logic. So that's what I would think. Yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily. I mean, I don't know. The women that I've known definitely aren't agreeable. So I'm not going by if women are agreeable or not. I'm going by, again, the logic, right? If women are going by things on logic or emotion, if women are contributors to society, that's what I care about, right? So, we want a Thunderdome. 2 may enter, 1 man leaves. Enter, ladies. I mean, if we go back to, using force, women would not be succeeding. Women would not be succeeding. All right, let's check out the next topic.
Subject, and for
I agree. This is the thing where they just want to rule over men. I do think that, in my honest opinion, right? You see these groups, right? The alphabet people, minorities, women. I believe, controversially, these people want to become the oppressor. I honestly believe they want to become the oppressor.
To spice it up, let's start with Isaac. I want to see what your answer is. Isaac, should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
Yeah, I believe that as long as you have the ability to be a good parent, whether you're gay, straight, no matter your sexual orientation, you should be allowed. Pretty cut and dry.
Let me say this. I don't think so. I don't think neither lesbian couples, I don't think in my honest opinion, I don't think anyone in the alphabet community should be adopting kids, adopting babies. I don't think so. Because in my honest opinion, they are, let's say people for the trans, they are mentally unstable. I'm sorry. If you think that, if you're a man and thinking that you are a woman, you are already mentally unstable. If you are, gay men, lesbians, you are, I think a child need both male and female ideology, mentality, energy, whatever, to raise a child properly, in my opinion. Good parents, good parents, but I believe it should be a man and a woman, right? A natural born man and a woman. So I don't agree to anyone in the alphabet community, adopting babies. Now, if they want to, let's say we have some like teenagers, right? Teenagers that are pretty much already who they are, essentially. A lot of teenagers are basically who they are. Now, if they want to adopt teenagers, fine, I guess. I would say fine, because teenagers are who they are. They just need a roof and someone to support them, right? Someone to support them. They need a roof over their head, someone to, take care of them. That's it. But as babies, you need someone to shape them. You need someone to properly make them into productive human beings, in my opinion. Not unstable humans.
Okay, anyone else before Nick goes? Should gay people be allowed to adopt babies? Heaven, do you have anything? Burnout?
I
I
believe
feel
so.
that yeah, I feel like anybody that has the heart to be a parent, the patience to be a parent should be afforded that right to experience parenthood
Please like the stream, guys. Please like the stream. It would be helpful to me.
and having a child and having that family that they have always wanted.
I feel like there's no evidence to show that children that grow up in single or same-sex couple households fare any worse on a majority of metrics or on any metric. And on top of that, I feel like if you're looking at the best interest of a child, it's a child that's needing to be adopted and a family that's wanting to adopt them, how could you possibly say that this child just should live without parents instead of going to gay parents, especially when there's no evidence that doing so would be more detrimental to the child, even in a heterosexual relationship, much less no parents.
Christine and then Cheyenne, do you have anything? Should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
Yes, absolutely. I can't, just for me, it's just, I don't know, but there's
She's terrible at this.
plenty of unfit parents that are heterosexual, ones that literally lose their kids to the system because of drugs or whatever it is that they're on. If there is a gay couple that has no criminal record and they can be fit parents, I don't see why they can't be parents if they want to be parents, if they're not hurting the child.
Cheyenne, what do you think? Should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
Yes. Anybody that wants to be a parent, it shouldn't matter what their sexual orientation is.
One, no, not anyone that wants to be a parent. I'm sorry. Because there are terrible people that would want to be parents for bad things, right? So no, not anyone that wants to be a parent.
Or race. So I think that a child deserves two-parent households, but it shouldn't matter what sexuality they are, because a kid deserves parents. That's how I feel. So yes.
Nick.
Well, wait, hold on.
Did everybody go? Heaven, you went? Did everybody respond?
I didn't. Yes, absolutely.
You have to give an argument.
Period.
This is a debate. So why, besides period, why should gay people be allowed to adopt children?
I believe that your sexuality shouldn't disqualify you from having that experience and raising up a person.
Let me say this. I believe, as terrible as it sounds, I believe you being abnormal, gayness, transness, whatever, lesbianism, isn't the normality. Right? It isn't normality. It isn't the norm. Even even a kid raised in a heterosexual two-parent household is not a 100% guarantee that they will succeed in life, right? But that is the statistical fact that the best outcome you can have for a child, is a two-parent household. I believe by a man and a woman. That is the best outcome, and even that is not a guarantee, right? Even that is not a guarantee that you are raising future productive, good adults, right? That's not even a guarantee. So imagine now that you are going to offshoot it, right? You are going to like do something different. Even the best case scenario doesn't give you the 100% guarantee outcome. So you are going to do you're going to do scenarios that honestly are abnormal. I don't see that necessarily as a good idea. And here's my view that, to be honest, there's usually parents install their own ideology onto their kids. They install their own ideology onto their kids. And to be honest, usually a man and a woman is not necessarily 100% the same ideology, but usually two gays are kind of the same in a sense ideology. Two lesbians, to whatever, it's kind of the same. And honestly, I view it as that you're not helping out a child starting them on a foot where their parents are already abnormal. You know.
And into this world that could be beneficial rather than leaving them to fend and fight for themselves. Because as we know, orphans don't have anyone, so it's better to like give them someone than nothing.
No, it isn't. It isn't better to just give them someone. Because what if that someone abuses them? And we've had quite a few cases of people in the alphabet community, particularly gay men, doing heinous things. I mean, I'm not saying on average all gay men, but I mean, we've had some stories of gay men doing not so good things.
I would say.
Great, Nick. Should gay people be allowed to adopt babies?
No, totally not. Absolutely not. And, probably it stems from a disagreement. I'm sure everybody on the panel thinks that homosexuality is fine. I think.
Really? See, I mean, Red Door said, data shows children brought up in same-sex households are at a disadvantage. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's wrong. I think it's a perversion. And I think it's sort of like the question asking, should you let alcoholics adopt kids, or should you let drug users adopt kids, or something like this? And let's just be very clear about what we're talking about.
I swear, Aiden Ross he's not cool, right? It's not cool what he's doing.
The way that homosexuals are portrayed in the media and like Modern Family and stuff is like, oh, they're just like us. They just kind of like they have a different preference. Some people like hamburgers, some people like pizza. And so it is. But let's just be very clear. It's like 3% of the population that identifies as exclusively same-sex attracted. It's a very low percentage. It's going up over time, and you have people that identify as their.
Controversially, I think there's some conspiracy, right? Why is it going up over time? And I believe it's going up by a lot, in my opinion. I think that's weird. I honestly think that's weird. So I don't know what the conspiracy is, right? But there has to be some reasoning why, some nefarious or weird reason why, the alphabet community is growing. and probably growing by a lot. Now, it could be that studies have shown that men are decreasing in testosterone. Could be something about that.
Flexible, or they're, not non-exclusively heterosexual or something like that. But the number of people that identify as exclusively same-sex attracted is exceedingly low. We also find that there's a lot of things that overlap with that. Drug abuse, perversion, pedophilia. It's like half of all the pedophiles are gay men. They're like 3% of the population. They're half of all the pedophiles. And then you look at things like monkeypox. How did monkeypox come to America? It's because they all went on an island. They were all having sex with everybody else. It was a giant orgy. And then they all came back to America and had sex with everybody here. And then they gave everybody monkeypox. This is how the AIDS crisis started. And nobody wants.
Hey, I don't know if that's fact. So, I mean, this is the thing. I heard that you cannot tell how the AIDS crisis started. I mean, I believe. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but there are studies that said you can't figure out patient zero, right? You couldn't figure out patient zero. So we probably shouldn't blame gay people.
To talk about it, but it is the ugly reality. Gay men know
fact?
about it. What's that?
Is that facts? Is that factual information?
Those are 100% facts.
Can you
those
give
are
us
all
the
facts.
Wait, don't straight people spread diseases too?
Okay.
Not as much as the AIDS phenomenon was
Can
a
you-
gay
can you
phenomenon
fact check that?
in the 80s
Wait, I
and
don't
90s.
understand the 3%.
I wanna know your story.
And if I could just finish, I promise
let's
I'll
lower
wrap
the
it up and then he can
interruptions Before
respond.
you guys continue, we'll go one at a time. Nick, if you could finish your opening statement.
So the dirty secret that nobody wants to talk about is that homosexuals, there's a huge overlap with perversion and other dysfunctional behaviors. I'm sure there are homosexuals out there, maybe, that their only sin is sodomy. Their only sin is sodomy and something like that. And maybe every other way, they're fine. And I think that's very rare. But overall, the gay community has a lot of those problems. And I think the question fundamentally is, what is best for the child? People say, well, everyone has a right to have kids. And something consistent in the debate is this, we have rights. We have to think about what we're actually doing here. We have to think about where.
I do agree, right? Saying that everyone deserves right. Everyone deserves. It's like, technically, I guess, but in all reasonableness, a lot of people are crazy. A lot of people are just unhinged. A lot of people. This is why, there's rules, regulations. There's a government. A lot of people are stupid. A lot of people are stupid, and they cannot handle responsibilities. They cannot handle accountability. They cannot handle their life. So, yeah, maybe you deserve right. I mean, yes, but honestly, certain people just shouldn't do certain things.
The rights of other people are, do children have a right to grow up in a home with a moral fabric, where it's a man and a woman in a marriage, as opposed to a single person, gay people, other kinds of issues going on in the home. I actually do think in some cases, children not being adopted is better. And obviously we can think of examples of where that would not be the case. And I think that also applies to homosexuals too.
Okay, let's respond one at a time. Do you have anything, Isaac?
Yeah, I think the main point of this debate is kind of there can't really be an agreement or a conclusion reached because we have a fundamental disagreement over what's moral. I think you see homosexuality as a sin. You call it sodomy. So from your perspective, people who are immoral should not raise kids. And in that sense, I agree that people who are immoral should not raise kids. However, I do not view homosexuality as immoral, as do many other people on this panel. So that's pretty much how it is. I don't think we will be able to reach a consensus on.
Well, the point is that you don't. This is something that sometimes people who do debates don't realize. You don't need to change the other person's mind. That's not the point, right? Usually, right, when you're debating with someone, I mean, particularly online, right? Particularly when it comes to online debates, you're not trying to change that person's mind. You're trying to change the viewer's mind. That's what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to make a logical argument and see if the viewers will accept your argument, will see your point, will be on your side. You don't need to change that other person's views, right? At best, if you don't find common ground with the person you're debating, you agree to disagree. It don't give a doesn't matter if your view or his view or whoever's view is changed. What matters is you are online, social media, debating. It matters the audience. This is why sometimes we get too emotional, right? When we're talking to each other, particularly online, we get too emotional when we're debating. The point isn't that I'm trying to change your mind or you're trying to change my mind. No, the point is I'm trying to change the minds of people who are listening to me, right? You're not listening, so you don't care, right? Your views is your views. The point is, does the person who's listening to me, do their mind change? Do they agree with me? Or do they disagree with me and agree with you? That is the point.
On this, to be honest.
Do you have anything else? Burnout, Heaven, Cheyenne, anything?
I just want to know, what basis do you base homosexuality in relation to alcoholism and pedophilic nature? Because those are very different things. Like, those are hugely different things, and that is a heavy statement to make in a comparison. To call someone who is a drunk and a danger to children the same as someone who just likes the same sex. That's a bit insane to me.
Well, the argument went like this. People said that everyone who wants a kid should be able to adopt a kid. And I said, well, obviously that's not true, because we wouldn't, if an alcoholic wanted a kid, we wouldn't send an adopted child to them to raise them, because we see there's obvious problems. What's that?
We didn't say that. We said specifically homo. We did not say that anybody should be able to adopt.
We never said.
They did. I mean, I think one of them said whoever wants to be a parent should be able to adopt a child. I think it was her.
Well, you said, well, your argument was, you can roll it back, but the argument was people want to be parents, they should be able to be parents. And I think you agree that some people, that's not even if they want to be parents, that's not enough, because there's certain qualifications. We have to consider whether they'd be good parents.
Would you not
what
let people in a rural
That's not what we said, though.
adopt children then? Because they have high, if you're looking at averages, they have high rates of alcoholism and drugs. Would you not have people in middle America, rural communities that all are dealing with this opiate crisis? Would you not let any of them adopt children? And again, just because when you said earlier, oh, it's rare, it's only 3%. Like, yeah, maybe 3% of the population is born with 4 fingers instead of 5. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be parents, just because it's not as common. So I don't understand, just because you're saying that. And again, there is actually no evidence that children that are grow up in same-sex households fare off any worse, whereas there is evidence that children growing up in poor rural communities fare off worse. So with your argument, would you not let those people adopt children?
Again, the argument isn't about averages. The argument isn't whether someone is statistically likely to be one thing or the other. What I said is, okay, can I finish my reply?
Yeah.
So as I'm not sure it's Isaac. I think Isaac said a moment ago, we're not really going to come to an agreement, because if you think that being gay is not immoral, and I think it follows, if you don't think it's immoral, you probably would say that gays are just people that have a higher risk factor, for example, of those things, just like other people, just like people in Appalachia or something, and therefore you wouldn't categorically exclude them. What I'm saying, though, and I'm making this argument by painting a picture, is that homosexuality is immoral, just like being an alcoholic, just like being one of those other things. And it's an immoral behavior. I think in the same way that someone that abuses alcohol shouldn't have kids, someone that abuses themselves in a sexual way shouldn't be having kids. The picture I'm painting for people who might be skeptical is just to kind of introduce it. When I'm saying they shouldn't have kids, I'm not saying, oh, well, they shouldn't have kids because I'm prejudiced or a bigot. I'm saying it's wrong, and it's a good heuristic that it's wrong, because it's being misrepresented in the media and in society as something like it's you have men and women. There's half men, half women, and men and women are basically, they all are after the same things. You got black people, white people, black people are, born a certain way, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is about homosexuals being 3% of the population. it is anomalous. It's non-normative. And so there's something about that where I feel like people don't.
Kind of the argument I was making. I think, here's my opinion. You should raise people. I think one of the points of raising children is for them to be able to assimilate, be productive adults, be part of the masses. Again, if you can raise a child to be, special, or, one of the, I don't know, history maker or whatever, right? Or someone that's very unique in history, great. But usually you can't. Majority of people will raise normal, productive, average adults. That is it. Now, it might not be a good thing when you yourself, your parents, are abnormal. They're not necessarily the norm of society, are raising you. The likelihood that will they raise you part of the norm of society, or you'll be the outcast or the difference. Not necessarily a good thing.
Really recognize it's such a tiny minority. And then you start to think, well, are people born gay and straight like people are born white and black, or men and women? Or are people born a certain way and maybe they're born with a certain inclination, and then maybe it's environmental? In some cases, it's induced by assault or trauma, or it's induced by certain environmental factors in the home, like an overbearing mother. And then you start to create a profile that homosexuality is really a pattern of behavior more than an identity. And that's why it tends to flow into heavy promiscuity, drug use, perversion, all these things, because it isn't just like a preference that is kind of arbitrary. It's a pattern of behavior that results from kind of a very specific combination of factors. And so that's the picture that I'm trying to paint. But if you believe, yeah, go ahead.
Couldn't you say the same thing about like people with your worldview? That's a very fringe, small minority. Oh, maybe your mother was this way or that way, and that's why you believe X thing you believe. Your worldview and your fringe group of the internet is a very, very small minority. I would never say that's the reason you guys shouldn't be able to adopt kids. And again, if we're looking at, if you're just going to say homosexuality is immoral, I don't like it, that's why, fine. But what you're saying is, oh, they have overlaps with drug use and this and that. When again, those poor rural communities, they have way bigger overlaps, and we have actual statistical data that children that grow up in those communities end up faring worse, whereas children growing up in same-sex couples do not. So if you just want to say I don't like homosexuality because it's gross, fine, but I don't know where these other arguments are coming from because you're not being consistent with them.
Do you
No,
know
I
any
am
gay people?
No, I don't think I do.
Do you
So I
think
think
gay
you're
people are
speaking out
gay?
of,
So how do you know
you're
so
speaking from
much
this from a
about
perspective of someone that doesn't
homosexuality?
know the LGBTQ community. You're just speaking about your own experience by maybe media, maybe your
Yeah, you're
own,
just regurgitating
closed-minded view.
information.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, I
you're not a
think
good
that if
representative to speak about this.
if you're trying to make the case that homosexuals are not promiscuous, that they don't abuse drugs, that they don't like to party, that there's not immense perversion, I think you don't know what you're talking about on that case. I mean, it's true. Maybe I don't have credibility on the subject because I don't know them and that lifestyle intimately, but I think you'd be mistaken if you're arguing that.
Can I
And
speak
people
real
can
quick?
decide for themselves. Yeah, go
The
ahead.
Go ahead, Bernal.
description of the character you just gave also sounds like your average frat boy. So where's the difference in that, baby? Like, make it consistent.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a lot of that with frat boys, but I also think that the numbers are just extraordinary.
And he's not asking he's not saying frat boys should be fathers, right? He's not saying if you have the frat boy mentality, oh, you should be a father, you should be a parent. No, that's not what he's saying. So I don't know what you're trying to get at.
I mean, for example, there's studies that have been done about homosexuality. I'm thinking of one that was done in San Francisco. It said that 95% of them are non-monogamous and promiscuous. And the numbers about their lifetime sexual partners, it's huge. It's in like the hundreds. It's just like a totally different category than heterosexual people. And I think that's kind of the point I'm getting at. I am making the case that it's immoral. And I'm trying to paint a picture for you where it's not like we're kind of starting in the middle of the story, where it's like you got straight people, you got gay people. Is it fair to discriminate? And I'm saying, well, we can't really start in the middle of the story. We kind of have to go back. And it's like, where are the gay people really coming from? Is it just like a roll of the dice? And just like everything else, one person's one way and one person is another? Or is homosexuality a non-normative behavior? It's a deviant behavior. It's a form of acting out or indulgence or a defect like other things. You know, a predisposition to alcoholism, a predisposition to other things. I think there's a good case to be made based on the fact that it's such a small percentage, and they are given to these extreme and I think antisocial behaviors.
Isaac,
And,
go ahead.
you know,
People have
that's
the
just,
ability to choose their sexuality. Why would they? What benefit would they have by being gay?
I
When
agree.
Society condemns them. Society does not see them as equal to straight. Like, in order for somebody to become a minority without any benefit, it would have to be like crazy.
Thank you, Rain. Thank you, Rain. I'm sorry. The benefit of, let's say, you know, what he's saying is that to be perverse, that is the benefit, right? It is to, you know, do these acts, right, with no inhibitions. Show me a gay wolf or a lion. Yeah, I mean, yes, that is true, right? Being gay isn't the norm, right? Same sex interaction isn't the norm. That is not the norm. That is an offshoot. That is a diversion. Sorry, yeah, my bad. Sorry about the no sound. I forgot.
But you might see gay people as crazy. I don't know. That seems like something you believe.
I agree with you. I don't think it's a choice. It's just like I think a lot of things aren't a choice. I think that, you know, there are people that are born as sociopaths. There are people that are born with the predisposition of violence or alcohol. People are unfortunately born, they're kind of loaded up with a lot of things. And how much of that is genetic and environmental? I think it's a difficult line to draw. And I'm willing to say, for the sake of argument, I think very clearly there are some people with a predisposition. I think for a lot of people, it's very environmental. Ultimately, though, no one makes a conscious decision. I agree with that. The question is, though, doesn't make it any less moral. You know, some people are.
Aiden Ross is crazy. I mean, that's why he's pushed to Rumble.
Born, pardon the comparison, but some people are born with a predisposition for violence. And would you say, hey, well, you know, some people are black, some people are white, some people are women, some are men, some people like to kill people and some people don't, and they're equally valid. Like, no, you'd say, well, one is immoral, maybe they can't help it, but it should probably be regulated by society. I think the same is true with homosexuality. I think the same is true with hypersexuality in heterosexuals. I think a lot of that should be regulated.
Would you say then that black people shouldn't be able to adopt kids because they're technically more likely to be predispositioned towards violence because they commit more of it, if that's what you believe? Or would you, like, when you say, okay, alcoholics shouldn't be able to adopt kids, would you actually see that the person that wants to adopt a child is an alcoholic, or would you exclude them because they come from a region like poor rural America where a lot of them are alcoholics? Because for some reason with gay people, you're like automatically, because there's this overlap between or they have higher rates of drug use than whatever other demographic you're comparing them to, that we're not now going to look at them individually and saying, are you an alcoholic? Are you a drug addict? But I have a feeling that when it comes to other groups, you would actually want them to show, okay, this person shouldn't be a parent because they are using drugs, not because they come from an area or that they're white, which, or whatever, that makes them more likely to do so.
Yeah, again, I think you're kind of getting hung up on, like, I'm not saying it's a statistical risk factor. I'm not saying homosexuals are more likely to do X, Y, and Z, although they are, and therefore they shouldn't be able to adopt. I'm saying homosexuality is wrong. I said, and we know it's wrong because it really is a pattern of behavior. People that exclusively engage in homosexual sex, that's an act, it's a lifestyle, it is a way of living. Just like some people go and drink every day, some people, some men have sex with men and some women have sex with women. And I'm saying that categorically, those people should not have kids. Just like categorically, alcoholics shouldn't have kids. Just like categorically, drug abusers, I should say, shouldn't be able to adopt kids. No, Black people, by virtue of existing, don't necessarily have a predisposition to violence, but Black people that are engaged in gangbanging, because I worked at UPS one time. Luck of the draw. I was the guy that was training me was Black, and there was another Black guy alongside me, and they're like, you gangbang, yeah, gang. They're from Gary, Indiana. They're from the South Side. Luck of the draw, I guess. Like that lifestyle shouldn't be able to adopt. Same thing with homosexuals. And so,
if there was data that showed that, or if you believed, even because there is, that showed that these children don't fare off any worse with same-sex couples that engage in whatever lifestyle you're talking about, does that matter to you? Or is it just, you just don't like it, it's wrong, even though it doesn't seem to have any negative impact on children?
No, because I think that, and this is a point I think is interesting. You're always pushing the data, and, it's a very strong argument when you come with data. I don't think that we get all our knowledge empirically meaning scientifically. We set up a hypothesis, we collect data, we measure it. I think we also get knowledge rationally. I think we're also able to, you could call it common sense, you could call it logic. I think we also get information other ways. That's how we get philosophy. That's how we get the idea that, it's probably wrong to sodomize because the natural end of sex is reproduction. That's something that you can't determine that through a study or scientifically. You determine that rationally. And so I think that, data can be manipulated. You could play with the numbers. I'm really uninterested in the data.
Yeah. There's the girl on the top, the Asian girl. She's useless. The Asian girl is useless. The girl at the bottom is useless. They say nothing. They have no opinion. Real Rain said it, right? Does the girl in the top right say anything useful in this conversation? Not at all. Not at all.
I think it's immoral. I think people that grow up in a household being taught sex can be had between two consenting people or many consenting people or men and men, I think it's wrong. I don't think people should be brought up in that kind of environment.
So basically,
we're gonna hold on. What's in it, Jazz? We're gonna let you go. I want to hear from Isaac, and then we're gonna move on to the next subject because Isaac, it seems like you have a moral quandary with Nick, but let's go one more thing from Jazz.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so you're saying ignore all the data, ignore the actual evidence that people have gathered looking at children and how they fare off in different environments, ignore that even personal experience, because it seems like you don't hang around a lot of same-sex couples, but just whatever you feel, you think, based on Catholicism and whatever you're putting together, that should be the metric that all of society should go by. Not facts, not even lived experiences, just what you feel. Okay, that's all.
Well, hang on. It's not about what I feel. Again, it's where do we get knowledge? Where do we get things like math itself? Where do we get things like, even the conception that we shouldn't kill people, that life is good and death is bad? These are things that we can't necessarily derive from empirical methods alone. And, you can say, well, we should just go by your system. You have a system too. You're arguing a moral system as well. People don't think of it in that way. But when you say things like, well, everyone should have rights and everyone should be treated fairly, that is a moral position. Where are you getting that moral position? I'm getting a moral position from the Catholic Church. We're getting it from philosophy. We're getting it from revelation. We're getting it from natural law. So we're both arguing a moral position. Let's not pretend like one position was objectively proven true by a study. Saying that fairness is good is not an empirical statement. That's not a scientific statement. It's a moral statement. And, moral statements are created by moral systems, by people. So we're, I don't think it's
Stop. I'm going to go to Isaac. Isaac, what is your response to Nick's moral position?
Yeah, I just think my dilemma is that for on paper, there's nothing wrong with his belief that immoral people should not adopt kids. I just think that immoral, like what's moral, is subjective. I do not believe that because you're homosexual, you are immoral. And I do think that even if we're using this like really narrow-minded view of morality, once you agree that there are people that you find immoral that are good at what they do, can we concede to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just because you view someone as immoral does not mean they don't have the ability to do what's needed. So if someone is immoral but is still a good parent and the kid ends up, achieving greatness because they had good parents, why would you, be against that? I don't understand.
Because the first,
hold on, let's let Nick respond and then Bernard, you can go.
In my opinion, I think that the thing that a parent has to do first is give their kid a moral education. You know, we look at the society today, it's falling apart because kids aren't getting a moral education. They're getting taught calculus and science, and then they can read and they can do a lot of things, but they're not getting a moral education. They're not being taught, you know, like, for example, you look at crime. You can argue a lot of different things about crime. A big factor is there's no fathers. A big factor is people aren't telling them right from wrong. I think that's a big problem with why hookups are so unsatisfying. Relationships are so unsatisfying. We find people are so unsatisfying. People we find are selfish. People we find are uncaring. It's because there's a true moral failing, and it stems from really bad parents, single parents, selfish parents, divorced parents, parents that are more interested in other things, parents themselves that didn't have a moral compass. Such a huge, and we say narrow-minded. I don't think it's narrow-minded. It is more narrow. I do have a more narrow version of morality. I think our responsibilities go further than just don't harm other people in obvious ways, which seems to be the consensus. It's like, as long as you're not hurting somebody, it's like, but, you know, aren't we hurting children when their parents get divorced? Aren't we hurting people when, you know, we engage in decadent, irresponsible behaviors? Are we hurting ourselves? Is there anything better about hurting ourselves than hurting somebody else, and why? So it is a more narrow version of morality, but I think that's what's needed.
Bernal, go ahead, and then I have a question for Isaac.
All right, to elaborate more on this straight edge path that you're thinking when it comes to morality or whatever, I would start with saying that morality comes from being mortal. No? Can we all agree on that?
What?
Being a human being and living and having experiences dictate your morality. And morality really is not a singular thing. It doesn't have to do with an individual. It's community-based, because morals are held up around what is deemed acceptable and what is deemed not acceptable. And for you to sit here and make statistical statements and not consider that morals have a very big part in to do with your experience as a human being and how you physically inhabit spaces in your body and spaces where you don't really know what's going on, you're just regurgitating information, is kind of like, we all know, is narrow-minded.
You're all regurgitating information. That's what it. When you're making such a stupid argument, it doesn't help you.
But it can't be the definitive factor or like the last end all be all, because life is full of complexities and you're not considering any of them. You're taking your information that someone has told you, not anything that you have experienced firsthand, and saying that's the end all be all and this is what we should go by, when there's no proof that this is the best way to go.
Great. Isaac, I want to ask you, where does morality come from?
That's actually a good question. I think morality is a human construct. A lot of people could say it comes from Christianity. I think Nick would agree with that. But I also think that there are things that lean into the more subjectivity of it all, because there are things that Christians deem moral that I deem immoral. And there are things that, you know, I deem moral that Christians deem immoral, like abortion. So I don't think morality, we don't have enough evidence or enough understanding to know exactly where morality comes from. And that is why we can't make society-based things on subjective moral.
How I view it, right? I believe morality is, and I go for it, right? Where I particularly go for logical morality. I personally go for logical morality. They are smart criminals. I go for logical morality, where if it makes sense, if it produces good results, there's logic to it, right? There's a reasoning for it. Certain things like abortion isn't a logical morality, because how is killing children a logical thing, right? How is that logical in any way? It's not. I really don't think it's a logical step at all.
Values, because just because you think something's immoral does not mean the next man thinks something is immoral. So we need to be a little more complex with that. And I don't think, that's why I think you're narrow-minded, in the sense that you're not considering all the complexities of morality and the subjectivity around morality. You're just going by your own sense of morality rather than taking into account the rest of the world. That's just my opinion.
Well, you haven't answered the question directly. Where does morality come from?
We don't know where it comes from. Nobody knows.
Okay, do you have anything from Cheyenne? And then from Christine, you haven't spoke much during this subject. Do you have anything? We'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, my parents are pretty conservative, I would say, and I just feel like when you say that, you know, gay parents will be like a bad example and such, I don't personally get it, because I was raised by like similar beliefs. Like, my parents have similar beliefs as you. Like, they told me, like, growing up, like, you better not like girls and things like that. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, I form my own opinion about what I think is right, should be okay, and equality and things like that. And so I think, like, gay people raising kids or straight people raising kids, they're still going to form their own beliefs. That'll be against what you believe. So,
Cheyenne, is morality subjective or objective?
You don't. It's subjective.
Okay, where does morality come from?
We don't know. But what I can say as a person who grew up in a church, because both parents are Christianity, that's just, they've been told me, you can't be gay, you better not be gay. But to say that just because someone may be different, they're not as human or as qualified to be parents, or as a woman, she's not qualified to do anything because she's a woman, is kind of a bit biased and a bit weird. Don't you think?
Oh,
Okay,
she
let's move on
speaks.
to the next subject. It seems we're starting to circle a little bit. And I would just say going forward, if the participants, instead of asking questions, we would like to hear your arguments instead of reverting back to Nick. I'm hearing less of people's stances and just asking Nick questions. So if you could state your arguments a little bit more. We'll move on to the next one now, and I'll start with Nick because we started with Isaac last one. Nick, is it okay to be fat?
No, it's gross. And I sympathize, okay, because I'm gaining weight at a rapid pace. I like to eat, okay? I like eating. I hate working out.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, now talking about, is it okay to be fat? Okay.
I hate exerting myself. So I say it, you can't really call me a hypocrite because I'm getting there, and I struggle to stop the trend. No, but it goes along with everything else we've been.
Oh, I like this. The origins of morality lie inside human beings. Morality is a product of our biology and cultural evolution. I agree. I mean, to be honest, it is within us, right?
Saying it really is a fundamental question of what do we consider moral behavior? Because there seems to be a consensus these days. It's like this Reddit mentality. It's like a very compassionate mentality. People say, as long as you're not hurting somebody, it's fine. And harm is kind of like, hey, keep your hands and feet to yourself. Don't be mean. Don't be a jerk. As long as you're not doing that, you're a good person. And I think that the things that harm ourselves are immoral. I think there's a whole category of things like that. I think that, those sexual behaviors like we're talking about before that are not pointed toward their natural end are immoral. I think overeating, gluttony, laziness, sloth, I think those are immoral things. I think we would all feel in our heart of hearts, there's something wrong if we're not being productive. And we know somewhere deep down that work is good. When we don't work, we feel bad. When people are working around us, but we're not, we feel guilty. Why is that? We have a conscience. We have an objective sense of morality that's baked into the cake. And that's because we know that work and toil and productivity are good and the opposite is bad. Same goes for things like waste. We feel an inherent guilt when we waste food. Why is that? It's something that's immoral. It's not necessarily hurting somebody else, but we can all recognize it's not a good thing. And the same goes for being decadent, overindulgent, obese. The big scam is people say obesity is caused by some other thing. It's caused by eating too much. It's caused by a lack of discipline. People say, they got big bones or something. I think there's a lot of shit in the foods we're not supposed to eat. But if you get fat, it's probably because you're eating too much. And that's a sin. So we need people to stop eating, stop the snacking, stop drinking the sugary drinks, stop grazing all the time. Got to get up and move, get active, stop being such a fat piece of shit. That's kind of my view on the whole thing. And I think it's immoral.
Who has a rebuttal? Does anyone think that it's okay to be fat? Go ahead, Isaac.
Okay, I don't agree. I agree with Nick a lot on this.
It is not okay to be fat. It's not okay to be fat. Now, if you're lazy, it is what it is. I mean, I agree that, it is important for you to, people caring not for you to harm yourself, but at the end of the day, we're all adults. If you want to harm yourself, you harm yourself. It is what it is.
I do not think that it's okay to be physically unhealthy. However, where my opinion differs, and I'm just assuming, I don't, you didn't say it, but I don't think we should demonize people for being physically unhealthy. I think there are productive ways to stir people into a physically healthy life that doesn't involve shaming them.
Well, to be honest, shame and bullying is part of, the human experience, right? It is a motivating factor. Now, is it the best? Maybe not. But it's not the only factor. It's not the only way, but it's part of it, right? I mean, a lot of people, if you feel shame, you don't do certain things. So it is part of how you can motivate or deter people from doing certain things. So stop living. Now, I wouldn't say that, but that's why I say, like, at the end of the day, if you're going to harm yourself, you're going to harm yourself. I do think that us as individuals caring about if other people harm themselves, I don't know. But I do think that is the power of the government. We give the government that power, okay? We give, honestly, other people that power, that privilege to, you know, stop us from harming ourselves.
Making them feel any worse than they already are. So, and from to answer your question, I don't think it's all right to be physically unhealthy, but I don't think the solution to that is to shame people. And also, obesity and being fat can be caused by factors that aren't controlled by the person that is that way. I just wanted to.
No, I think it's, I mean, maybe 1%. I think 99%, if not 100%, it is within our own, you know, it is within our own abilities. I mean, no one else is controlling you, forcing you to eat.
Add that it's a rarity.
Why exactly? Bring back tough love. I think that, you know, there is degrees to bullying, right? There's degrees to bullying. If you beat someone up, I don't necessarily agree with that. But shaming people, bullying, I think there's, you know, some good to it.
But those situations still happen. So that's how I feel about it.
And before Nick responds, anybody else? Is it okay to be fat? Christina, do you have anything, or Jazz? Go ahead.
I think there's a difference between unhealthy and immoral. And I don't think, like Nick always talks about, oh, we have this inherent thing that we just know it's unhealthy or we know it's immoral. And I think like earlier you brought up like, oh, there's like things like math. Well, there's a consensus on math. Clearly your moral framework is not shared by a lot of people. It's by the majority of people in our country. And so if it's so inherent that we should all just know it because it's just within us, it seems like it's only a small percentage of people that have the thing you're talking about where we just inherently feel that someone eating donuts is so immoral. It's just,
no, that's the majority of people. I mean, let me see. Let's see. Let me see. No, I mean, more than 2 in 5 adults have obesity. Now, that's ain't great. That ain't great. But it's not the majority. So, I mean, the majority know that it's not a good thing to be fat.
it's not happening.
Heaven, do you have anything? Is it okay to be fat?
Personally, I feel like it is okay to be fat in terms of just looks. If somebody is personally comfortable and confident that way, then you know, 2 thumbs up to them. Is it okay to be unhealthy? No. However, I do feel like what Nick is kind of getting at has more to do with a person's it has more to do with just being negative and like trying to tear them down and not really health. Because sometimes if a person has weight on them, it's not really because they're unhealthy. It may be like as it said, they may have personal like health issues that they're going through. So
And also,
that's my
like,
take.
fat is subjective because a lot of beauty standards have changed over time. I remember, like, the women that we call thick and curvy these days, they were labeled fat back in the day. So it's also really subjective about being fat. And as long as somebody's comfortable in their own skin, I think it's okay. But I'm not going to like enable, physical unhealthy behavior. But I'm not going to shame or demonize them the way you guys do. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I don't want to demonize. I don't think they're demonic. I don't think fat people are demonic. I just don't want to see them. I don't want to see them around. I think there's, it is the picture of being unhealthy when you're obese. People don't like to look at it for a reason. There's a reason that, super fat people are not in high demand, in the dating market or something like that. We don't like it because it's not beautiful. It's not beautiful because it's not good. It's not beautiful because it's not healthy. And I think that, as far as shame is concerned, I think shame is extremely important, because
100%. I agree. I think shame is extremely important.
People, we know people and we know ourselves. If we don't have positive and negative incentives, we will do the path of least resistance. We will do what we want. We'll do what is easiest. And something like food, we all love to eat. Food tastes good. It's abundant. It's plentiful. It's something that we like to do. If there's not a powerful motivator like shame or fear of judgment or things like that, I think it does actually lead more people to engage in that. And I think it's not for their benefit. So it's almost like you look at a person who's fat. Now, a person that's fat has a lot of problems. They're probably going to die. They have a lot of like health complications. Also, people don't really want to be around that. Are we really going to vilify the shaming? And what's better for the person? If they're shamed, but they're skinny, or they're not shamed, but they're fat? I think it's better if they're shamed and they're skinny. I think that's better for them. I think that's better for society. And we have to kind of get away from this like oversensitivity. People are like,
oh, that is what I hate. That is what I hate with modern day society. I think that's poisoning men, and I think that's poisoning society. The oversensitivity is absolutely ridiculous. Back in my day when I was like a kid, we didn't mind shaming each other, right? We like during lunch, we were like busting on each other, right? We were like insulting each other like really hard. I've had friends insulting my race, friends insulting my weight, friends insulting my looks, and I did it right back at them, right? I mean, it's like we weren't sensitive to words and stuff like that. That's why it's like we are such a oversensitive nation, and it's modern day right now we are oversensitive, and I think it's a detriment. You know, back in the day, you know, you could shame, you could at least verbally bully. That is fine. We weren't crying. We weren't self-deleting. Okay. If we were affected by the shame, we would improve, or we would, fight back and verbally.
Like wild animals, if left to their own devices, they will destroy themselves and others. I think meanness is actually kind of a prerequisite for society. And by the way, we know this with other things. When people are like racist, when people are whatever, the kinds of things you guys don't like, you have no problem shaming them. You have no problem being mean, even in some ways, not necessarily you guys in particular. I'm speaking broadly, even being a little bit hypocritical towards so-called racist or sexist or whatever. So I don't think anybody disagrees with the tactics. Everybody knows that. It's just a question of what do you think is wrong? And I think that on some level, people want to tolerate fatness because people are more tolerant of weakness, decadence, selfishness than they are of meanness or cruelty or other things like that. And I just think that's I think that's imbalanced.
Go ahead, Burnout, and then I want to hear
Didn't
from
you just?
one
I'm
second,
sorry
Burnout.
to ask another question.
No, Burnout. Before you ask a question, I want to hear your response before you change the subject. So we'll hear from Burnout.
Okay,
Then I want to hear from
okay.
Christine. I want to hear from Cheyenne. You have not been participating.
All right, so I don't think it's a crime to be fat. Fat people aren't harming people. Like, you want to say you don't like.
They're harming themselves. It's like Nick was making that argument where, yes, they're not harming people, but they're harming themselves. And, well, at the end of the day, we do have to protect people from themselves, right? We do have to protect people from themselves.
Seeing them, but you just admitted that you sympathize because you're becoming fat. It's not really mixing in the pot together.
I know, and I hate myself. I look in the mirror, I see my fat face, and I'm like, damn, you're getting fat.
So do you really have the sympathy? Because you can't sit here and call fat people disgusting while being one, because that just gives hypocritical. You just sound hypocritical.
It's giving
and
guilty.
Then in
it's
the
giving
same
guilt.
breath, it's giving what?
It's giving guilt. I look at my fat face in the mirror and I'm like, I'm so fat. I need to get skinny. That's good. People call me fat. It hurts my feelings, but it motivates me. You know, then when I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm like,
do you feel like you're hurting anyone by being fat? Do you feel like you're physically hurting anyone by being fat?
I'm offending the audience. If I'm fat, I offend the audience.
You shouldn't think that way about yourself, man. You need
no, because I don't think what you equated it to is the same. And you know that.
It depends on your look. So some fat people can pull it off. They have like a kind of jolly demeanor. They're kind of, some people look a little better that way.
Body. I feel like we shouldn't speak on other people's bodies, especially if we don't know what's going on with them. You're more than valid to speak on yours. And if you're admitting to being embarrassed about getting fat and in the same breath belittling fat people, you're just saying that you hate yourself.
I hate that I'm getting fat. I do. And everyone should want to be healthy. Everyone should want these things, and we should encourage them to be. I want everyone to be the best that they can be. And I don't think we should be like cruel. I am against cruelty, but I do think, if there's shame involved, if people feel bad for being fat, I don't think that's a bad thing. And there's a big difference between cruelty. I don't believe in cruelty. I don't believe in meanness. I don't think I'm a particularly mean person, but I do think that, when society says this is good, this is bad, when people don't measure up, I think it does cause negative feelings. But I don't think negative feelings are always bad. I think it's like pain. Pain isn't bad. If you get shot in the head, it hurts because you have a problem. In the same way, not often, not all the time, but if you feel negative emotion, a lot of the times it's because you need to make a change. And I feel like the left in general, they want to remedy all bad feelings, all negative feelings. They want to create an environment where everyone's super sensitive. And then when the outcomes are terrible, they care less about that. They care more about everybody feeling better than, for example, them being healthy. And in that sense, they're doing a disservice to people when they say, you're beautiful. It's like, if a fat person's in front, it's like, you're not beautiful. You're not doing them any favors by telling them that there's nothing wrong with them, because there is. And, we don't have to be cruel about it. But
what about when someone has like acne? Should we like shame them? Because it could be for like a hormonal issue, which a lot of people that are bigger.
You can't necessarily control your hormones, right? You can't. It's like you can control how much you put in your mouth. You can control how active you are. You can't necessarily control your hormones or if you get acne or not. It's what a fucking stupid thing.
Or have hormonal issues or some type of genetic predisposition to it. Do you just go around and if someone's like ugly or has acne or just is not
saying a genetic disposition? You're not genetically. I don't believe. I mean, maybe there's a study out there that says it, but I don't believe you're genetically have a disposition to be fat. Now, even if you do, you can still control your intake. Right? You control how much food comes in your mouth. You can control how much active you are. I doubt it. Even if it's true that you have a genetic disposition to be fat, you still have 100% control of what you put in your mouth. Even if you have a genetic disposition to be fat, if you don't eat, how would you get fat? You don't just gain fat out of thin air. Okay?
pleasurable to look at? You just think that's the response?
Well, but acne is different. Acne is not something that is directly caused by your lifestyle.
So now
right,
you can acknowledge that it's different.
Can be.
in some cases,
In this
in some
context, you
cases,
can acknowledge, right?
And in some cases, weight is not directly dictated by your
Mhm.
lifestyle. Like people
I don't
have
think that's
hormonal
true.
issues and medical issues. It is
I don't think that's true at all. That's I don't think
it's
so.
true.
It is
It's
true.
true.
Rarely
if
true.
you see a lot of like morbidly obese people that are starving to death.
No, but there are sometimes like hormonal issues, like thyroid issues. Like my aunt has it, and she works out all the time, and she's really healthy, but she just puts on a lot of weight because her thyroid. So people can have these issues that can also cause acne. There's many underlying factors that can lead to what someone looks like on the outside, and so I feel like either you have to make fun of every.
But then it's like, again, I don't know the percentage, but I doubt it's the majority, right? I doubt the majority of fat people became fat because of thyroid.
Everyone for everything. You're ugly, you're short, you have acne, or you need to understand that you don't necessarily know why a person looks a particular way.
I think we do kind of do that. I think we do kind of do that anyway. And I think that, some people are more comfortable with some things than other things. It's like, it's a classic example. Women will say, well, we don't like short men. We don't like weak men. We don't like men that aren't facially attractive. But then you go, okay, we don't like fat women. They go, what the how could you say that? She's crying. That's terrible. It's like, I think the world's a pretty cruel place. And I think that obesity, ironically, it's one of the ones that is most correlated, because you're right, in some cases, there are people that have a extenuating circumstance. I think in a lot of cases, it is overeating. Generations ago, there weren't as many fat people. And if you look around the world, in different countries, it varies tremendously. I think it is owing a lot to diet and exercise, more so than some, certainly acne, height, these other things you're pointing out, those are almost completely uncontrollable. And in the case of something like acne or bad skin, that is something, I think, less so than obesity that can be attributable to lifestyle. We all know if you see somebody with a super greasy face and greasy hair and they have bad complexion, it's like, okay, that guy doesn't shower. That's different than someone who just has it, because of hormones, because they're an adolescent or something.
Yeah, Isaac, go ahead.
We'd say take a shower.
Yeah, but just like what Jasmine was saying, she could go after me. Yeah, but exactly what Jasmine was saying, there are like underlying things that cause somebody to be like socioeconomic status too. They're like people in food deserts where they have no opportunity or no other options but to eat, bad food. So there are people that are put in positions where they can't help the way they look. And I agree, it's physically unhealthy and it's not good for them. But there needs to be a more productive way to lean them towards getting healthy. Like, we could provide more programs to help, people who are socioeconomically disadvantaged to, get healthier. But calling somebody fat and saying you're ugly, I don't want to look at you. These people generally are already feeling bad about themselves and you're just putting them down even further. So, and when someone gets put down, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where they don't want to get better because they.
Exactly. And that's the thing where, like Real Rain says, thyroid issues have become an excuse for some people. To be honest, it's an excuse for the whole fat group, right? There's some kind of medically wrong. Well, it's not the majority of them. Most of them are because they just overeat and are lazy. That's it.
They already view the world as against them. So I don't think your way of dealing with that, it will be productive. It would actually lead to more self-pity and more obese people, if I'm being quite honest.
Christine, go ahead. Is it okay to be fat?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, there's all of the TikTokers and like the binge eaters that I see that they're like, what I eat in a day? They're eating like thousands of calories a day. A lot of those are skinny people. So I feel like that energy should also be directed towards them because like they're the ones that are eating unhealthily, but since they aren't able to gain a lot of weight or they have fast metabolisms, like no one really cares. But then like a fat woman or a fat man will be eating a salad.
Well, you got it. That's kind of disingenuous because stop really comparing things online, because I've seen also these people that supposedly do mukbangs or shit like that. They actually fake it, right? They actually don't fully eat that. And here's the thing where even if the ones that do overeat, I've seen that they actually don't eat that every day. They actually eat that once a day, or that's the only meal they eat the day. Like that, what they film is the only meal they eat the day, and then they just exercise or fast, the rest. So you can't go on things on what you necessarily see online.
Like they're getting roasted for that. So yeah, like you see a fat person in the gym and they're getting made fun of. So like, how can they get better if they're just? But I know that's the truth of it, and that's what's going to happen regardless. But yeah, I think there's a double standard there, and there's of course like Cushing syndrome, there's PCOS, and like syndromes and diseases that people like they can't help but to gain weight like during that, like medications.
Please like the stream, guys. It's helpful to me. Please like it
and stuff like that. So,
Cheyenne, do you have anything? Is it okay to be fat?
It's okay to be fat, but I don't think it's okay to be unhealthy. Some people cannot control that they're fat, or sometimes it's genetics, or sometimes they go to a doctor and be like, hey.
I think it's not okay to be fat. Being fat is unhealthy. Now, I mean, what you do as an individual, I'm not saying I'm skinny. I'm definitely not. But what you do as an individual, it's only, this is a thing where we got to realize, right? You are the only one to blame. I don't blame nobody. I don't blame the world. I don't blame like thyroids. I don't blame any shit but myself, right? If I overeat, if I'm lazy, I blame 100% myself. So I would say, yes, it's unhealthy. It's not good for you.
You're going to start gaining weight. And sometimes when you get older, things stretches and you can't control your weight.
And you know what? Yeah, Real Rain said, no one, I mean, to be honest, I've seen it where the gym, people support other people, right? People encourage people. I mean, it's the point of like the drive, it's a discipline. So they would support you going to the gym and trying to be healthy. It's the mentality that they're supporting, not because, oh, you're fat, I don't want to support that. No, it's your mentality. I think it's not necessarily being fat, it's being lazy. I think that's more the mentality. That's where people are really making fun, because being fat is an indicator that you're just lazy, that you don't put in the effort. Cupcakes, I call it.
And it's gonna get as harder. But being unhealthy is not okay, because as she just said, you see people on TikTok, they just gobbling that thing, gobbling. But some of them have fast metabolism, versus you'll see somebody who's plus size, they're eating like a healthy meal.
What I've heard, they don't have fast metabolism. They just, again, I've seen these mukbangers work. They may eat a lot during that filming, but they also fast for a day, for 2 days, or they exercise heavily, right? Heavily when they're not filming.
And they're making fun of. I don't think that's okay that they get shamed.
I eat horribly and everything goes into my ass and titties and I just make more money on OnlyFans.
Okay,
so
we don't need to talk about OnlyFans. That's a different subject completely. Let's move on, because this is kind of getting cyclical. I'm gonna ask Nick, is transgenderism a mental illness?
Okay, they're done with the fat talk, so. Now they're moving on to, is transgenderism an illness?
Oh,
Yeah, I think, by definition, what do they call it? Gender dysphoria. I mean, by definition it is. And people say, well, the remedy to gender dysphoria is the so-called gender transition. I just don't think that such a thing can be achieved. I think you're born what you are. And people can make modifications. They change the way they dress. They modify their body with surgeries or hormones. It just makes that person what they were with the modifications. If they were a man, now you're a man with long hair. You were a woman, now you're a woman with short hair and a mustache. And that's why almost all the time you can clock them. And there are some that are pretty good at hiding it. There's some that are pretty deceptive. But for the most part, the way we find it funny is because you see like a 6'5" guy who's 400 pounds grabbing a guy by the collar of his jacket and saying, "You do not film me." If you saw that TikTok, it's like, okay, like, that's not very ladylike. Like that guy did not become a woman. Obviously, it's a guy in a dress. So I just don't, I think we're born a gender. I think gender is an essential.
Yeah. The girl in the middle is going to go against Nick on everything to get simp bucks. I agree.
Immutable, unchangeable part of who we are. It's a self-deception when people say they've transformed. I don't think that's possible.
Let's start with Isaac. Is transgenderism
Why are you starting with the guy? I mean, these two girls barely said anything. Okay, I think you should start with actually these three girls. Barely said anything. You might as well start with the three girls that says nothing.
mental illness?
I do think that a lot of people who become transgender, they are grappling with thoughts about the gender that they are and societal expectations. But I feel like that's something that a lot of people go through, like living up to societal expectations. And just because they took an effort to feel comfortable in their own body does not mean they have a mental illness. It's just part of the human condition, wanting to feel good in your own skin. So if you call transgenderism a mental illness, then you would have to call anybody else that decides to change something about themselves to feel better mentally ill. And it's just not productive to call everyone you did.
Well, changing things for you to feel better is maybe a little bit different than changing your supposed, what you're born as. Okay. Let's say this, a man that's changed, even a man, right? I think a man that's going to such an extreme, cutting off his dick, okay, and trying to be a woman, that's an extreme, okay? Changing yourself, let's go exercising because you're fat. It's not the same. There are extremes.
We would mentally ill.
Burnout, go ahead, and then I want to hear from Heaven.
So I believe that obviously this is an individual choice, and the only person that should be speaking on it is the person who feels like they are who they are, and if they want to transition, that is their decision. But I do have experiences with friends who have gone through that, and they said that,
It's crazy. Just today, just I'm a little bit gobsmacked, because my friend was an extreme religious person. Okay, at one point he was an extremely religious person, and now I thought it was weird that I found out that, he's not that religious anymore. But it was still weird that I found out that my friend has a trans friend, and I was like, wow, I'm quite surprised. Now, I'm not saying bad or not. I'm just saying that that's quite surprising because, again, I've always known this man to be very religious. So it's such a surprising thing. And it's funny that when I saw this trans person, I knew it was a man. It's like, this is a thing where, in my honest opinion, very few, I think it's very few, like maybe 1%, maybe 0.1% can actually pass as a woman. Because I think so many people, because of makeup, because of like lighting, because of a filter, it helps you pass. But when you actually look at people in reality, you can see the difference. So I have yet to see anyone in reality to actually pass as a, pass as whatever gender they're picking now.
they don't feel any different after they feel like they just cut their genitals off for no reason or added genitals for a reason. And it really just has to do with society, because you can be whatever gender you want as long as you think about it. Like, you don't actually have to have the parts. If you want to be a dude, go be a dude. Absolutely not.
You guys are basically changing the subject.
Gender and race is not interchangeable.
And your physical self are not human constructs. Gender is. You can't become black because black is a physical trait that is inherent to you, not gender.
Gender is physical, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Gender
is physical, but gender is not.
Wait, okay, so I have a question. I'm generally just asking. So the physical part of gender is a penis and a vagina, correct?
No, yes. That's sex.
No, actually, no. It's much more complicated.
There's secondary sex characteristics. Like when you see a person on the street, you're not seeing their genitals, but you're seeing things that we associate with one gender expression or the other, like breasts and hair, and all those things are the ways that we identify people because we're not seeing people's genitals.
Okay, I have a question. Wait, Isaac, you did just say yes when I asked that. Were you saying yes? Did you agree with me?
No, I was basically trying to say that's more complex than that. Like genitals are, you don't see people's genitals, just like Jasmine said. People identify, like in passing, you see a woman, you see a man, but that's society speaking. That's not something that is physical. A woman is a very complex thing. A man is a very complex thing. Gender is different than sex. Now, somebody could be born a sex. That is physical. But gender itself, he, she, they, whatever, that is a human construct that has no basis with biology whatsoever.
No, let Nick, go ahead and elaborate off of, if you believe in my argument, Nick, that if basically they're saying that if they could just switch their gender, then I can become black. If you can, you can go off basically what you want to say, but they're basically just saying it's not a physical, gender's not physical.
Well, I, some days I feel black. I'm going to put on blackface. I'm going to curl my hair. I'm going to start talking like this. I'm gonna start talking like a black person. I'm gonna sag my pants and stuff, because it makes me feel comfortable in my body. I woke up, I felt black, and who is to tell me? It's my body. Society can't come and tell me what I'm gonna do. Who are you to judge? And maybe race is biological on some level, but race is also a social construct. I mean, what is black? Black people have brown skin. What is blackness? It's our conception of what blackness is. Who's to say I can't go out and modify my appearance to make myself more comfortable? You'd be okay with that? Halloween, I'm going out as Richard Pryor. Halloween, I'm going out as Barack Obama. I'm going out as Barack Hussein Obama with the birth certificate and everything. Point is, we can create arbitrary categories to separate them from biological reality. We could say, well, no, penis and vagina's sex. Man and woman is gender. You're just creating an arbitrary category. We all know gender and sex are the same thing. Gender is an expression of sex. Male and female are biological categories. They want to introduce this other category. And then when it's indefensible, say, well, it's really just about what makes them comfortable. So are we debating whether people should be able to express themselves? Or are we debating, whether there are men and women? I think everybody knows there's men and women at this point.
If you wanna define it that way,
Please, okay. Just one second. My parents, my mom was pregnant with me. I could not pop out as a white person or a black person or a Mexican person. That was decided when they are both Asian and they had sex. And
wait, you're Asian?
I am Asian.
Oh my
I'm
God.
Vietnamese. Yes. And I want to say there are intersex people that exist. There are people that have both.
There's barely any. It's like what, 0.001%?
And I want to say that where was I going?
I think the Asian girl should stop talking. I think the Asian girl should stop talking. She sounds stupid.
But yeah, that was the main point that I wanted to get off, that you can, transracialism, that was from, Rachel Dolezal. There's, maybe 4 or 5 people that, really consider them transracial, and her family went out against her because she did not grow up around that area. She grew up with a white family, normal white family. That was what she was, and she decided that she wanted to be transracial, but that's not really a thing. That's throughout history. All throughout history, there have been trans people that have existed. So that's just a newer thing that people are using now. And same with, the being an animal. When my parents had sex and I was conceived, I can't come out as a dog. So that's.
But you came out as a woman, right? You came out as a female woman, just a female. So you can't, by your same argument that you can't just change to be a man.
Wait, but I have a question. So, the, what is the name? The Jazz. The boobs, the person, she said that when we see someone walking down the street, we don't know that they have a penis and balls or they have a vagina. It's a secondary expression. Okay, I'll raise you one. Let's say I get my eyes surgically modified. I get my eyes sewn like this, and I'm walking down the street. And let's say I put some fine black hair. I get a mustache like this, and I say, hello, and somebody says, that guy's Asian. That's an Asian man. Are you going to say, well, you don't know, my parents are both white. My parents are both white. Race isn't essential. Race, you don't know that I'm Chinese just because my eyes look like this and I have a fine black Fu Manchu mustache and I'm wearing a straw hat. You don't know that. So again, it's we all know these. Once you start applying them to other categories, we all realize you actually can't change. Just like you can't change your race, which is essential. You can't change your species, which is essential. You can't change your gender, which is essential. But there's this argument, we're going to create another category. If you feel like a thing, you're the thing. Yeah, that only works if you make the thing a new category. I can stand in the garage. It doesn't make me a car. What if I say carnivore? What is it?
I like that one. You can't stand in the garage. Doesn't make you a car. Yo, I don't know, guys. Watching this is this is the thing where I have not really watched Nick Fuentes, so I can't really say that I liked him or disliked him. But it's this video that was funny, and that makes him make me like him a little bit more.
A car is transportation. I could walk down the street and go like this. I'm a car. It's you're imitating a car, but you're not a car. You're imitating a dog. You're not a dog. You're imitating a black person. You're not you can imitate a woman. You're not a woman. So it's imitation with word games in the middle.
Can I respond?
Christine, hold on, Christine, quickly, and then Burnout. Go ahead.
Because you said that being gay wasn't a choice. So I wonder how the difference is being trans is a choice, but being gay isn't a choice.
Well, it's a behavior. It's a predisposition to a behavior. So I think some people are predisposed to some things. Some people are predisposed to other things, and that's unchangeable.
Burnout, go ahead.
If you feel like you can make something up, why is it that you can make something up and it be true? And if a thought that differs from what you think can't be true, what makes you think that you're the right one. Like, you're saying everything that's so correct in the world when there's live proof that differs.
Well, that's the point of the debate. So we all disagree on the issue, and then we come together, and then we argue back and forth, and then people can determine what's more convincing, and then that's.
You don't have to mansplain what a debate is to me.
Mansplain. Well, you asked me. You said, "Well, but what if people disagree?"
It's like that. This is facts. If you know that things are made up, you're saying that gender is made up. If that was the case, then we wouldn't even have man and woman. We would just call each other chromosome X and chromosome Y.
Because human beings love to label shit. God damn you. I mean, human beings love to label. They just love putting names on shit. That's it.
Like,
good point. It's true.
We were debating. Now we're agreeing. What's going on?
Because look, what we call male is the active. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you call male, but it's the active partner that fertilizes the egg with the X and Y chromosome with the penis and balls. What transgender people are saying is, well, no, man is really, there's two levels of man. There's the level of man, which is a discrete reality. And then there's a level of man, which we all imagine. And that's what we call man. And, manness is different from being a man. And it's like, again, you can, again, a woman can imitate what a man is and then call herself a man. And we can say, well, the person that is a man and the person that's imitating a man are both men. But it doesn't change the fact that one is and one is imitating. There is one has a penis and one doesn't. One has the chromosomes and one doesn't. One was born one way, one was born another, and then undertook a self-conscious effort to imitate the other. So that, we can call it XY, we could call it male, we could call it man, we could call it all those things, but we're still describing the same reality. That's semantics.
What'd you say, Isaac?
Yeah, can Jasmine talk? She's been raising her hand.
Yeah, we'll go finish with Jasmine and we'll go on to the next
guys, we're going to have to go to the next topic, but Jasmine, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm not arguing, and I don't know if other people on the panel are, that a cis woman and a transgender woman are the same. I don't think they're the same. But I think they would both be under the umbrella term of woman, because when a person has the secondary sex characteristics and you see them as a woman, to say that they are the same thing as a man just doesn't make sense. And the culture does matter. I'll even agree with you with race. I know people from so many parts of the world. My boyfriend was just in Africa, and over here, he's considered black. Over there, he's too light, and he's considered, I forgot what he said it is. But I'm Iranian. Some people consider me a person of color and some don't. The culture that you live in also affects the way people perceive you, and that is part of the story.
Great. Do you have any is there anything to respond to here, Nick, or we can go to the next subject?
Yeah, I just, the idea that what makes a woman is her biology. Taking the reproductive faculty from a woman is to take the womanness from her. Well, I mean, what's a woman without the fact that she is a biological woman? A mother has a vagina, uterus, and of course there are women that are born without those things. But I think everyone agree that's one of those essential things. Having long hair, not necessarily essential. Wearing a dress, not necessarily essential. We'd all agree that what makes a man and a woman are those things. You can't put them under the umbrella because they dress like them. Just like same thing with a car. Would we, if you have a red car in the garage, would you say that what makes a car is that it has a coat of red paint and windows, or that it has an engine? It's like the engine is what makes the car the car. It's a horseless carriage. That's what a car is. You take away that essential component, is no longer that thing. You could push rock in the garage, paint it red, put a piece of glass on it, put a radio in it. It wouldn't make it a car because it lacked. You say, well, they're both cars. They're on the umbrella of car. There's cars with engines, and then there's rocks that look like cars. It's like but they're lacking those essential ingredients, and I think everyone knows that.
Great.
I don't know. I mean, this is a thing where I do agree that you could label trans women, but to call trans women women, no, they're not. I mean, if you want to use the label, fine. But I think the problem is a lot of times is they're saying trans women are women. No, they're not. They're trans women. They're transformative women. Okay. So no. I practice MMA. I now identify as the I practice MMA. I now identify as the world heavyweight champion of Mars. Ew. Real Rain, I love you, my brother. All right.
Let's move on to the next subject. I want to ask Nick, can white people say the N-word?
Yes.
What?
Well, yeah, they can. Obviously they can. I say it all the time. So.
Great. I want to start. Isaac, you seem to disagree. Or can white people say the N-word?
Anybody can do anything as long as it's not breaking the law. So from a literal sense, yes, white people can say the N-word, but I question the reasoning behind wanting to say that word. Is it to feel powerful, to take back control? That was,
My point of view, right? I think nobody should say it. I really hate that the black community wants to perpetuate that word, want to keep that word alive. I think that's the stupidest shit ever. I honestly think that's the stupidest shit ever. Oh, we want to take back the power. You take back the power of the word? That word wasn't a good thing. You should want to destroy the power of that word. You should want to destroy that word completely. I think it's asinine to want to keep that word alive. So I think nobody should say that word. Yeah. In the words itself, trans women, not women. Trans man, not man. 100% agree.
that we took back from y'all because of that word. But all those scenarios aside, a white person can say the N-word, but I don't think it's right to say the N-word.
Burnout, do you have anything? Should white people be able to say the N-word?
Being that, in a sense, they kind of invented it, but the history behind it breeds a huge understanding as to why you shouldn't say it. I really don't understand why you would want to say it, other than to try to get a rise out of someone that it oppressed. So you can say it, but why? Why do you want to say it? Me personally, I don't think that you should. If you are really like a human being that wants to get over the hump of racism or wants to be progressive, I don't think that you should be doing that. You're contradicting yourself. But that's my opinion.
Christine, would it offend you if a white person said the N-word?
Listen, so there are people that'll say, oh, like my black friends let me say the N-word, or I got a pass. Well, if you say that to the wrong crowd of people, you might get jumped, you might get killed and things like that. So it's not, I mean, I get called ching chong, ling ling. It's not even on the same level though, because of like the history behind the word, and black people have got to reclaim that word for themselves. I don't see why people having the desire.
Why is it not the same level? This is a thing where, in my honest opinion, okay, I think slurs against Asian people is not the same level. It's because Asian people don't make it an issue. I believe that the Asian, saying chink, saying all these things, is not on the same level. Is because Asian people do not make it a big thing. Back in the West, back in like when the emergence of Chinese people, they were persecuted. They were, they were treated terribly, just as black people during that time. So, but they just didn't make, chink and all these slurs against them that big of an issue. They don't care. Okay. I mean, they care, but they don't care to the same degree as, let's say, the black community caring about the N-word. So I think we're building it in society as such a bigger word.
To claim ching chong and ling ling, but they just call Asian people that. So it's like, yeah, white people can say it, but it's like, you might have black friends that co-opt that and love that for you. But if you go to like the wrong area of town, or you go somewhere and you're willy-nilly saying it, you could get beat up.
She probably is lying. I mean, yeah.
Killed, all that stuff. And so that's all
that is black, or just to say, oh, why do you want to say it? That's the reason.
Damn racketeer was considered a fighting word, which meant that it was not protected speech. So there hasn't been any cases recently on this, but technically fighting words are not protected speech. And I wonder if in a context where someone uses that word, if it would fall under that doctrine. I don't agree with that doctrine. I don't think fighting words should be not protected personally, but that is what our laws are like right now.
Nick, before you respond, Jazz, do you think somebody could earn an N-word pass?
I just feel like, listen, I'm not for people not being able to say something or being able to say words based on their identities. I'm not for that. I just think it's cringy. Like, I've never seen a non-black person, especially a white person or someone that talks like me, where that word like rolls off the tongue and doesn't sound just gross and cringy. So, I mean, do I think anyone should get a pass? Not really. I just think people, if they want to use it. And the way you're perceived by society is on you.
Just because you can't do it. I think that when it comes to the N-word and other slurs, it's protected under free speech. Like, a lot of conservatives like to say that, oh, I have the free speech to do this. Yes, you do, but you also have, to face the consequences. So this isn't a matter of like, can white people say the N-word? Of course they can, but do you still want to say that word knowing that your business will suffer, your social reputation will take a nosedive? I don't think
you will get canceled.
People should fear for their life for saying that, but if you want to say that word and consequences come to you, then that's just you made your bed, so now lie in it.
I find it's funny with the left. I do find it funny with the left where in certain things that they believe in, it is okay for consequences. Yet when it's something that if they receive consequences, they cry about it. Like, let's say the Charlie Kirk thing, where so many people were celebrating Charlie Kirk's death on social media, literally made videos celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And they cried because they were canceled. They cried because, you know, they got fired. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel was temporarily fired. They cried for that. So it is okay to cancel someone you disagree with. But when you get canceled for doing something that other people disagree with, why, you know, we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be canceling. The hypocrisy there is idiotic.
Go ahead, Christine.
That Lily Gaddis girl that gained 20,000 followers for saying the N-word on TikTok, and she's getting paid by all these outlets to do interviews. There are white people, yes, you use the N-word and you will get loved by people on that side and welcomed into the right wing and the conservative side of Twitter. So that's why I think some people would want to do that, because they want to be edgy and they want to monetize off of that, because there are some people that agree with them and think that it's funny and that they'll do that. So
now she's getting hate by the same people she was appealing to, so that never worked out for her.
Yeah, exactly. People are calling her Jewish and things like that, which
Go ahead, continue showing yourselves. I have no problem with that.
Okay, well, before
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, it is sort of crazy because, you know, this is a word that, let's just stop pretending. It is considered the same in any context. If someone utters the word, even if they mean no harm, even if it's not directed at a black person, even if it's not directed in a derogatory way, uttering the word, this is why we call it the N-word. We can't even, in the context of this conversation, and there's a proposition, should we say it, should we not say it? We're not even allowed to utter the syllables because we all know we don't want that clip to go around because we get canceled. And people on the panel say if you say it, you should be struck down and killed or beat up, some, not all. And this is something a lot of people do believe. You see videos on the internet where it's like, oh, this guy said the N-word, then this guy hit him with a skateboard and knocked him out. That was awesome. He had it coming. The only other entity that I can think of where to this day people say should be killed if you offend them is God. Like that, if you commit blasphemy in certain cultures, they'll kill you. And that's on the same level today. In the same way that Christians won't say GD, they won't say that because it's blasphemy, it's a sin, you go to hell, you have to go to confession. It's like that today with the N-word, which like children, we have to, like the F word, I said the S word, we still have to say the N-word. And I think this speaks to the level of the whole country, as we all know, is walking around on eggshells not to offend the black people. We all know you can offend white people, Hispanics, you can offend Asians, you can heap discrimination and racism on Arabs, Muslims, even Jews on some level. But we all know, black people, careful what you say, or else you'll be canceled. If you're not in good standing, if you don't have the stamp of approval, you'll get shouted down. And I think it's totally ridiculous. So I totally oppose it. I think that, you know, look, it's a word, sticks and stones, break my bones, etc. People get called retard. People get called all kinds of other things. People can say things that are even meaner, that are more personal. But for some reason, blacks are this protected class. You can't say their special word. I think it's total joke. I think that if whites and blacks want to live together in harmony, there has to be a real mutual basis of equality. Nobody's ever said that there's things off limits you could say about white people. Jamie Foxx can go on SNL and say, I play Django, I get to kill a lot of white people, which is pretty awesome. You talk about killing white people on TV, that's fine. You utter the syllables of a slur, suddenly you're a racist? Like Michael, or what's his name, Kramer from Seinfeld? It's totally insane. It's got to go. And by the way, that's for the benefit, I think, of both people in the whole country, both peoples, blacks and whites. I think we should be able to say it, and it's funny.
So I wanted to, real quick, guys, this is Aiden speaking. So it was my birthday a year ago. I was on stage with Chief Keef and we were rapping together, Don't Like. I asked Chief Keef on stage with him, I said, can I say it? You sure? You sure? He says, yes. I ended up rapping the lyric and I said
them as a joke. And then to sit there and be like, oh, it's going to breed equality if we can say it. No, it won't. What's going to breed equality is you listening to black people, hearing their preference when it comes to something that oppresses them, that has painted their history for years.
It's so oppressive that you like to use it. This is the like Nick is saying that we should all use it. I'm saying no one should use it. Right? No one should use it. That is the equality. No one uses it. This is the problem. Why you keep on perpetuating that word, taking back the power of that word? You should destroy that word. I think it's such an idiotic take. Taking back the power of that word? No, you are keeping that word alive. It's so stupid that anyone who say, oh, we are taking back the power of that word. No, you are keeping the power of that word alive. That's what you're doing. You're keeping the power of that word alive. It's so idiotic. I don't understand why black people keep on trying to have this take. Just get rid of the word.
Years because of the actions of others and take into account and respect that. Because if we can respect, not to say cracker or offend any other race, why is it so hard to respect?
But Burnout, real quick, if everyone wants equality, so shouldn't everyone be able to say any word they want? Because think about it, if you're
why are you trying to like equate equality to saying words and not basic human things like the right to food, the right to home? Like you're trying to make something fit where it does not have any prevalence.
Okay. Well,
all because you feel like.
But I just had a question. If you guys in here thought it was wrong for me after getting permission 3 times, you guys went through slavery, went through.
You're telling me I oppressed people? I
Do
didn't
you
oppress
hear
anybody.
yourself though?
I didn't oppress anybody. What do you mean?
Subject. We're talking about black people, and you're bringing up Italian people for what? For what?
You basically talk about us being triggered over words, but I feel like a lot of conservatives get triggered just as easily. If we call you guys
trigger me.
I'm not talking specifically you, but I remember you guys boycotting people because they called Trump supporters deplorables, or you'll boycott another company because they said this thing, they said that. So I think that both people, like everyone has the free right under the Constitution to boycott and the free market take place whenever someone does something or says something that the country does not approve of. So I think it's very hypocritical that you're saying, oh, black people don't let me say this, when you guys will be quick to boycott us if we said something y'all didn't like. That's literally just how society works, and there's nothing wrong about it.
Yeah, I'm just arguing people should be able to say it. I agree. I mean, people can react how they want, but I'd also
add.
add.
But they're canceling us. Do you not think that people should be canceled for saying the N-word? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not.
Then you're against the free market then. So you're basically.
Sam, what's up? Getting rid of the word gives it more power than if anyone can say it. No one fishes at a lake until there is a sign that says no fishing. Now, I don't necessarily disagree, right? I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, Sam makes a point, right? A logical point. But at the end of the time, it's at the end of the day, here's my thing, right? Here's my thing where if everyone says it, it's still, you're giving the word power, okay? Because here's the thing where the black community sees that as a negative, okay? It has power. That word has power regardless, okay? I'm saying that if we can make a society where, okay, if that word is terrible, don't say it at all then, right? Let's just try to get rid of that word completely. No one says it. Now, yes, I see the logic in that where you're still giving that word power, but at the end of the day, I just, you know, I'm saying either or, okay? If saying everyone can say it, but one side still gets hurt, it still has that kind of negative power. Okay, but if no one says it, okay, yes, it has power because you're trying to ban it, but at least it's, you know, at least it's no one saying it. At least I think. I mean, yeah, maybe people will still say it, but I don't know. I just think that you want to take the moral high ground and not say it at all. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but you know, I get what you're saying. I get it. Making it a taboo does give it power. I understand. But we also have to think, taboos are not rampant. Yes, there's some underlying power to it. I definitely agree. But let's say this. Incest is a taboo, okay? Incest is a taboo. It's not rampant in society. It does give it power in a say, but it's not rampant in society. So it does make it a taboo, so it gives it very like you know, kind of like sort of a power kind of thing, but you know. C-Wag, what's up? Oh, you love Nick Fuentes. You know what? I mean, I'm kind of liking him banning words.
Contradicting your point. That people should
I
be
think
able to
because I don't think there's anything morally wrong with saying a word. I think that if a person, and by the way, I'll just say, I think if a person has demonstrated that they hate another race, I think that's wrong. You know, as a Catholic, I think that's wrong. But saying a word in any context, like Aiden said, you could say it as part of a song, and I may not be a little edgy, whatever, make a joke about it, but saying a word in the context of a song is obviously harmless. You're singing the song, you say the words in a song. You like the artist, you say the word in the song. But, you know, we've seen legitimately people get shut down because, you know, on TikTok, when they do the lip syncing, they do this when they do the N-word. They say, you know, when the N-word comes up, they do this. Because it's like even not even saying it, but lip syncing it as part of a song, people consider so immoral that they'll get contracts taken and everything like that. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with uttering a word, even if you might find it offensive. And, you know, again, context is everything. If someone is using it in a super derogatory way because they hate black people or something like that, I think that is different than people that say it when they're discussing it, people that say it in a song. It is a term of endearment among the black people. Same is true of other slurs. Gay people call each other faggots. Women call each other bitches. I'm sure retards call each other retards or something. You know, that's just society.
I don't think that part, right? I don't think retards call each other retards. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I mean, I think incest is a taboo. I think it is a taboo, but yes, it is illegal. So you're right. It's part of the illegal part. I was trying to think of an example, right? I was trying to think of an example that is taboo and it's not, I mean, it has a bit of power, but it's not rampant. So I don't know. I don't know. Marrying your cousin? Well, I guess that's still incest in a way. I don't know. I'm trying to think of one.
What's really going on with the N-word is it's more about this social station that blacks occupy and you can sit there and say, well, I don't think they should be beat up. But, you know, just like Chief Keef doesn't speak for all black people, you don't either. A lot of black people take that as a sign. I can kill, I can punch, I can maim somebody. I think that's wrong.
Heaven, I want to ask you a question, Isaac, before you go, to include more people. Heaven, you said earlier that people should expect to be beat up or murdered if they say the word. Is it the same repercussions if they say the soft A versus the hard R?
You know, me personally, I just feel like they shouldn't say it at all. I was raised a little different. As a black person, like, yeah, I can say it, but my family didn't let me say it. I feel like I really do feel like it's just like classless and tasteless to say. I feel like if you want to say that word, like everybody else has said on the panel, like just expect whatever that happen, you know? My stance is still the same. I don't think anybody should say it.
But is it equal if Nick said the soft A versus the hard R? Is it the same level of offensive?
Yes.
Okay, Isaac, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that I agree with the statement that people should be able to say whatever they want. What I have a problem with is that Nick Fuentes seems to be of the opinion that whenever they face consequences for saying something that's socially unacceptable, that's wrong. People practice their free speech and boycotting or calling somebody out or, you know, getting fired or, you know, something bad happening to them that isn't against the law. That is perfectly fine. So you can say the N-word all you want, but do not be surprised when you face societal repercussion for that. That's just
That I do agree with, right? That I do agree with. I mean, you can do whatever you want, just don't be surprised about consequences. That goes for everyone. Just like I said, with the Charlie Kirk thing, those are the consequences. Okay? I mean, I think they are relatively kind of on the same level of consequences, right? You do something negative, you do something bad, you get fired. Okay. I mean, I don't say you should get beaten up and killed. I would never say that because that's not a comparative, right? That's not a comparative consequence to, let's say, saying something bad. Getting beat up for saying something is no. I don't agree with that.
how the world works.
Burnout, can I ask you, is it the same level of offensive if a white person said the soft A versus the hard R?
I definitely take more offense to the hard R. But if you want to use the like A, I'm just gonna look at you like, you know, you're not a person I would deem of like, you know, viable character. Like you're not really somebody I would respect just off of the strength of that. I wouldn't look at you twice. I wouldn't consider you like as a person. Like I wouldn't really give you much. I just would be like, oh, and move on because it doesn't really deserve attention. When people who know the history behind it want to say it, still, even knowing that in the proximity of Black people, it's either out of wanting to be down or wanting to get a rise.
That's interesting, right? That's interesting what Wise said. The person who says suffer the consequences is most likely to cause the consequences. That could be true. That could be true. Now, I wouldn't. That's the thing where I'm not in no position to make someone suffer consequences for their actions. I don't care. Okay. What I do is actually just point it out, right? Point out the bad behaviors or whatever, but I'm not trying to. I don't care that enough, right? I don't care enough to make someone suffer consequences for their actions. I wouldn't care.
In any type of situation, you're gonna get neither from me. Like I don't really care to like integrate myself into that type of relationship with anyone, especially if we've spoken about it. If you know where I stand and you still choose to.
More subject. It's actually a great one. It's a two-parter. So I want everyone to go in order. Would you say you're happy in life right now? And
I think they're done with that. Well, I mean, that's the thing about the race part. So what do you guys think? right, this is the stream is going long. I don't want to take so much of your time. They're saying they can't win. I'll beat you to believe that. All right, guys. I love you guys, right? Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for stopping by, for joining the live, for being part of the stream. You guys are amazing. Thank you for the support. Right? Why? My brother, thank you. Sam, I love you. I love you, brother. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for joining the chat, right? Thank you for joining the chat. Poor man, you're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Thank you for joining. C-Wag, what's up? Thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank you for participating. Real, you're amazing. I love you, my brother. I love you. Thank you for joining the chat, right? Thank you for any of the support, right? Any support you show me, joining the chat, watching the video, pressing like, commenting. You guys are amazing. It's already 3 hours. I've been on 3 hours. I don't want to take you guys so much, right? It's a Sunday. Relax, do other stuff. It's 3 hours. I don't want to take so much of your time. I'm not, going crazy with it, right? So my brothers, right? Relax, have fun with other stuff. Artie, thank you for stopping by. Red Door was here. All right, thank you, my sister. Thank you, my sister. Big bars, thank you. If I say that and you get your feelings hurt, that's on you. I do agree. Why? At the end of the day, if you are, I definitely a believer of sticks and stones will break your bone. Won't break your bones, right? So, no, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. I'm definitely a believer in that. Anyone else? I think that's it. Right, you guys. Thank you, my brothers. Thank you, my sister. All right, I love you guys.